Chapter 204. This area was filled with slaughter. To other monsters, it might be a hellish place. But for someone like Lin Yuan who could obtain attribute points from killing monsters, he was like a fish in water in this land of slaughter. As long as Lin Yuan was willing, his strength could rapidly increase here. As for the so-called guilt, that was a joke. These monsters that didn't have the ability to communicate, and didn't even have much intelligence. Once they got close, they would violently attack. Weren't they just monsters that provided him with experience? Could it be that you would feel guilty if you killed a few monsters in a game? The Snake Man clearly didn't expect Lin Yuan, a mere level 3 Wisdom Realm monster, to dare challenge his dignity. He immediately let out an angry roar and his 6 arms swung forward at the same time, fiercely smashing towards Lin Yuan's snake tail. Boom! The two huge forces collided. Lin Yuan slid back about 3 meters. His heterochromatic eyes flashed with killing intent. If it wasn't for the headless horseman summoned by Huazhu Dao, his golden body technique wouldn't have been broken. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been at a disadvantage. But now, his snake tail was badly mutilated. The opponent's punch was quite frightening. Lin Yuan wasn't having a good time, but the Snake Man wasn't having a good time either. After all, the Thorny Whip skill, in addition to Lin Yuan's own attack, also added true damage. This was damage that couldn't be blocked by any defense. So at this moment, the Snake Man's 6 fists were all split open. Drops of green blood flowed out from his wounds. The Snake Man's eyes flashed with shock. He clearly didn't expect this newcomer to be so troublesome. Hiss! The Snake Man hissed a few times and quickly retreated. But following the terrifying call, the surrounding monsters all bared their teeth and surrounded Lin Yuan. They seemed to want to gang up on him. Interesting, there's actually a Beast King here. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with light. The demonic beasts in this place don't seem to have the ability to communicate with each other, but they seem to be able to communicate with each other through simple beast roars. The demonic beasts, who were like scattered sand before, gathered under the call of the Snake Man, which immediately brought a lot of pressure to Lin Yuan. He was not afraid of this group of crooked melons and cracked dates. After all, a group of hungry and skinny demonic beasts, even if they had the strength, could not pose a big threat to him. The only thing worthy of his fear was the Snake Man. Among the summoned demonic beasts, he quickly disappeared into the area that Lin Yuan could not see. He obviously did not intend to fight with Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan was not sure whether the Snake Man could maintain his rationality in contact with other beasts. It may also be because the Snake Man's cultivation was relatively high, so he could maintain his rationality for a period of time. It was precisely because of this that he did not dare to continue to contact Lin Yuan. He could only let these beasts come over and drag Lin Yuan away while he slipped away. Run. This way, the hunt will be more interesting. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes. His body coiled up as he stared at the monsters surrounding him. He didn't have the slightest intention of retreating. With over 100 points of defense, Lin Yuan was definitely an invincible existence among the Wisdom Stage Level 3 monsters that only had 200 points of defense. After all, not all monsters were like him, who could manually add points. Other creatures added points according to their race's talent and training direction. Therefore, at this stage, there wasn't an existence that had an attack power over 100 points. Even if there was, this group of starving monsters wouldn't be able to display their peak strength. In the next moment, without waiting for the red-eyed monsters to attack, Lin Yuan had already killed his way into the monster horde. The snake tail, venomous fangs, and the occasional ice cones had become a nightmare for these beasts. In an instant, Lin Yuan directly activated the unparalleled mode, and the beasts fell to the ground one after another. Ding! Congratulations to the host. You have killed the Wisdom Stage Level 3 monster, Rock Lizard. You have received 1 attribute point. Ding! Congratulations to the host. You have killed the Wisdom Stage Level 3 monster, Mystic Python. You have received 1 attribute point. Ding! Congratulations to the host. You have killed the Wisdom Stage Level 3 monster, Silver Light Frog. You have received 1 attribute point. The system prompt had not yet disappeared when the next system prompt appeared. Although killing these demonic beasts in a weakened state was not difficult at all, so the system only gave some guaranteed rewards. However, there were too many demonic beasts, and the free attribute points held by Lin Yuan were also jumping crazily. Host, Lin Yuan status, Sky-piercing black python, transforming into a flood dragon realm, 14/20th speed, 70 defense, 100 plus 20 attack, 80 monster power, 502 assignable attribute points, 13 skills, 1. Death coil, 298 of 302. Poison of the poison wine, 191/303. Bramble whip, 15 to 304. Blood boil technique, 7 out of 105. All things have spirit, can be used to communicate with living creatures. Cannot advance. Glancing at his own attribute panel, Lin Yuan took a deep breath. He looked around and found that there was nothing else besides the monster corpses scattered all over the place. The monsters that had gathered together before had all been turned into Lin Yuan's nutrients. Ever since he awakened the proficiency model, this was the first time Lin Yuan had leveled up so quickly. If he didn't consider increasing his skill proficiency and just added all his attribute points to himself, he might have already become a mountain lord. It was just that Lin Yuan hadn't done so. After all, there was definitely a gap between mountain lord monsters. It was just like how dragon bloodline monsters usually had stronger innate abilities than ordinary monsters. There were already signs of this at the Wisdom realm. The Mountain Lord realm, and even higher realms, would depend on one's own abilities. Lin Yuan didn't want to become the weakest Mountain Lord after reaching the Mountain Lord realm. Therefore, compared to attribute points, he preferred to increase his skill proficiency and increase his strength from another direction. However, this kind of growth method was suitable for the outside world, but not for this land of slaughter. None of the monsters that lived here could speak. If there was a disagreement, they would immediately attack. If Lin Yuan didn't have a high enough realm, he might not even be able to explore the depths of the Land of Light, let alone find a way to leave this place. After thinking for a moment, Lin Yuan added 3 attribute points to his innate ability, olfactory imaging. In an instant, the original detection range of 500 meters was directly increased to 4,000 meters. Although he couldn't detect things in the darkness, it was obviously useful in the Land of Light. There was no other creature within 4,000 meters of him. He had just slaughtered a wave of monsters with unparalleled. Was it that terrifying? Chapter 205. However, that snake man ran really fast. It didn't even hesitate for a moment, and directly slipped away to a place 4,000 meters away. This kind of behavior of running away immediately after finding a troublesome target didn't seem to fit the style of the demonic beasts in the Land of Massacre. Unless, compared to fighting Lin Yuan, it had more important things to do. The snake man obviously retained a certain degree of intelligence, and had the ability to control these demonic beasts. Then Lin Yuan guessed that there might be even more powerful demonic beasts above the snake man. The snake man left in a hurry to report to the higher-ups that a troublesome foreign demonic beast had appeared. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yuan activated his olfactory imaging skill and started a carpet search around the outer area. All the demonic beasts discovered by Lin Yuan were all killed on the spot and turned into attribute points on Lin Yuan's panel. If this was the outside world, Lin Yuan's actions might have caused the demonic beasts here to surround and kill him. After all, his actions were undoubtedly taboo. Demonic beasts hadn't appeared in the ghost's domain for many years. Occasionally, some demonic beasts or humans would come here looking for spiritual items. Therefore, it was very difficult for this underground world to replenish fresh blood. Every demonic beast had to control their appetite to avoid starving to death here. An existence like Lin Yuan, who only killed for the sake of killing, in the eyes of these demonic beasts, was completely cutting off their path of survival. However, the demonic beasts in the outer area obviously couldn't control their emotions. Not to mention surrounding and killing Lin Yuan. If they were too close, they would lose their rationality. When the time came, they wouldn't give up until a life and death was determined. And the demonic beasts closer to the light source didn't seem to want to leave their territory. It seemed like they would rather starve to death than go near the darkness. After the last wisdom stage level 3 demonic beast was killed by Lin Yuan turned his head with a trace of doubt in his eyes. It walked all the way from the darkness and even entered the darkness when the light source moved, but he didn't notice anything. However, it didn't make sense for these demonic beasts to be unwilling to go near the darkness purely because they were tortured to the point of collapse in the darkness. Compared to the psychological pressure for a period of time, leaving this place was the most important thing. What if the exit was in the darkness? Lin Yuan didn't believe that after so many years of existence, these captured demonic beasts had never tried to leave. After walking around the periphery of the light source, Lin Yuan confirmed that there was no prey. Then he looked up at the center of the light source. The first feeling he had was that it was dazzling, as if there was a ball of fire burning in front of his eyes, and he once again felt the strong fire attribute aura from before. Demonic beast? Spiritual object? Lin Yuan didn't dare to make wild guesses. After all, fays couldn't move on their own. However, Lin Yuan didn't believe that the one emitting the light was a fey beast. After all, to be able to emit such a level of light, even if it was activated by itself, it was definitely not an ordinary creature. Perhaps the beast Lord Kirin in the depths of the Hengduan Mountains was at this level? Hiss. Two long hisses sounded. Lin Yuan turned his head with some doubt, just in time to see the six-armed Naga from before appear once again. However, this time, the six-armed Naga was clearly much more vigilant. It didn't immediately approach Lin Yuan, nor did it emit any hostility. After seeing Lin Yuan look at it, the six-armed Naga stretched out a hand and beckoned at Lin Yuan, indicating that Lin Yuan should follow it. A bit interesting. Lin Yuan smiled slightly, and without the slightest hesitation, he followed the pace of the six-armed snake man. He wasn't afraid of this six-armed Naga causing trouble, such as preparing a trap or something. After all, he was now a rank 4 Wisdom Realm demonic beast. As long as he activated the blood boil technique, he would be able to instantly kill this six-armed Naga. However, from the looks of it, the six-armed Naga had probably already reported his existence to a powerful existence, so it wanted to meet him. This was exactly what Lin Yuan wanted. He just happened to want to find an existence that he could communicate with and ask about the situation in this underground world. The six-armed Naga led the way in front, and Lin Yuan followed closely behind. The two maintained a distance of 500 meters between them. All the demonic beasts they encountered along the way looked at Lin Yuan with vigilance, but none of them dared to provoke him. They only coldly sized him up. Finally, the six-armed Naga slowly came to a stop and pointed at a palace in front of it. Yes, it was a palace. It was similar to the style of a human palace, but it wasn't built on the ground. This palace was built on the shell of a turtle-type demonic beast that Lin Yuan had never seen before. The shell was flat, and there were almost no protrusions. It should be a turtle-type creature, but the exposed skin of this demonic beast was blood red. It was extremely different from the black and green turtle-type demonic beasts. A water snake with extremely pure dragon blood in its body. Interesting. Oh, with the body of a demonic beast, it actually practiced a cross-training method. Amazing, amazing. Suddenly, a muffled sound rang out. Lin Yuan looked towards the direction of the voice, and a trace of surprise flashed across his face. Because in that palace, a white-haired old man wrapped in beast skin slowly walked to the edge of the shell. With just a glance at Lin Yuan, he saw through Lin Yuan's hidden details. Not to mention anything else, just this insight was already very terrifying. Senior is? Towards a human old man that he couldn't see through. Lin Yuan still maintained a bit of respect on his face. After all, this guy was able to mix with a group of demonic beasts, and it seemed like his status wasn't low. His own strength couldn't be too low. This old man is Zhu Xinghai. The old man stretched out his hand to stroke his beard, and said with a smile, I heard from Six-Arm that you just came from outside? Let me ask you, can my Zhu clan take back the throne and re-establish the Myriad Swords dynasty? Zhu Xinghai? Lin Yuan didn't listen carefully to the old man's words, and silently repeated this name in his heart. In his eyes a ray of light suddenly bloomed. This old man was actually the last emperor of the Myriad Swords dynasty, and also the only emperor son among the 7 dynasties. He was personally pulled down from the throne by General Lei Qiusheng, who he relied heavily on back then. If this Emperor Sun didn't have a very good relationship with the Hengduan mountain range during his reign, plus the time when the Beast Lord Kirin was active, perhaps the entire Jiao clan would have been wiped out by the founding emperor of the Shenwu dynasty, Lei Qiusheng. Then today's Shenwu dynasty should also be flourishing, and wouldn't end up in a situation where the imperial family and the Jiao clan's remnants were tangled in a death struggle. Of course, the current tension between the 7 dynasties was also because of Lei Qiusheng's usurpation of the throne, which was equivalent to the destruction of one of the 7 dynasties. This caused some people to become restless. It's the 8th month, a new month. If you feel good reading, please help to cast a free guaranteed monthly vote. This will be helpful to the book's results. Thank you very much. In the new month, every 20 monthly votes will be added. Thank you. Chapter 206. Back then, Jiao Xinghai's name was like thunder to everyone's ears. The 10,000 Swords dynasty under his rule was definitely in the top 3 of the 7 dynasties. Looking at the current Shenwu dynasty, there were 6 dynasties, Hengduan mountain range, and the dragon palaces of the 4 seas. Internally, there were also aristocratic families fighting for power. In the dark, there were still the remnants of the Jiao clan who had not given up on reviving their country. On one hand, they were fighting against the armies of the neighboring dynasties. On the other hand, they were still worrying about internal strife. It was already a good thing that the current Shenwu dynasty was not at the bottom of the 7 dynasties. However, after Jiao Xinghai was saved by the Beast Lord Kirin and brought into the Hengduan mountain range, he had never heard of this person's existence. Who would have thought that he would actually meet him in this strange underground world? Little Black Snake, this emperor is asking you a question. Seeing that Lin Yuan was silent, Jiao Xinghai could not help but reveal an irritable expression. Seeing this scene, Lin Yuan was even more certain that this old man was Jiao Xinghai. After all, according to the Three-Eyed Ape's records, this Emperor Sun was quite capable during his reign. He managed the 10,000 Swords dynasty well. However, his temper was too irritable. If there was something that did not go his way, even if it was an important official in the dynasty, he would easily kill their entire family. Otherwise, no matter how strong Lei Qiusheng was, without the support of those aristocratic families, he would not be able to drag Jiao Xinghai down from the throne. Does the great emperor think that someone from the Jiao clan is a match for Lei Qiusheng? Lin Yuan raised his snake head and stared at Jiao Xinghai with his heterochromatic eyes. Even the divine martial emperor of the Shenwu dynasty would not be able to make him lower his head, let alone this Emperor Sun who had already lost his power and was forced to work with demonic beasts in this underground world. Jiao Xinghai snorted and said coldly, I knew it. You are all a bunch of trash. Without waiting for doomed Xinghai to finish his anger, Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes and asked, I've already answered your question. Now, shouldn't you answer a question of mine? The corner of Ji Xinghai's eyes twitched. Even though he was an emperor who had been usurped, he was still incomparably arrogant. If it was in the past, he would take the initiative to talk to a demonic beast. It was already an honor for that demonic beast. But right now they were all prisoners. Although Ji Xinghai's temper was a little irritable, he wasn't stupid. Therefore, he didn't have the intention to shed all pretense of cordiality with Lin Yuan. He only nodded slightly, indicating for Lin Yuan to ask his question. What the hell is going on with this damned place? Lin Yuan paused for a moment and directly voiced the doubts in his heart. Before this, he was even prepared to fight against doomed Xinghai. He didn't think that this violent Emperor Sun would actually give him face. Who knows? I don't even remember how long I've been here. It's just that this place is very strange. I'm a Heaven Dipper realm expert with a lifespan of close to 800 years. Until the moment before my life ends, I will experience the 5 decay of heaven and man until I become a corpse. Although I don't know how long I've been here, it definitely doesn't exceed 30 years. But I can feel my life force slipping away every day. It's as if something is devouring my lifespan. Only by staying in the bright places here can the speed of my life force slipping away be slowed down. Once this lonely one steps into a place shrouded in darkness, this lonely one's lifespan will quickly drain away. Don't look at how old this lonely one looks right now. This lonely one isn't even 80 years old this year. However, after entering the darkness 3 times in a row to find a way out, this lonely one has less than 10 years of lifespan left. A trace of gloominess flashed past Doomed Xinghai's eyes. Back then, Ji Xinghai was also an extremely powerful cultivator. He even broke through the upper limit of the previous emperors of the Myriad Swords dynasty and reached the Heaven Dipper realm. Moreover, Ji Xinghai was only 40-something years old that year. In the remaining 700 years, with his cultivation aptitude, it was not impossible for him to step into the even more profound Void realm. But a rebellion directly shattered Doomed Xinghai's cultivation dream. It caused him to fall from being a genius that everyone looked up to being a prisoner with less than 10 years of lifespan. Lin Yuan was also secretly shocked. If the same thing happened to him, he might have already gone crazy. But Doomed Xinghai was still able to maintain his rationality. And from the matter of meeting Lin Yuan, he still hadn't given up hope of leaving this place. Little Black Snake, you're very special. So this emperor believes that you might be able to find a way out. Doomed Xinghai waved his hand and said in a deep voice, "This emperor's palace is right here. If there's anything you need help with, feel free to find this emperor. As long as it's within this emperor's power, this emperor will definitely help you. I only hope that after you find a way out, you can inform this emperor." "I'm special? Why do you say that?" Lin Yuan's eyes revealed a trace of doubt. There were definitely many experts here. After all, the place where Doomed Xinghai lived was only in the middle of the light source area. There might be even stronger humans or monsters in the depths. But Doomed Xinghai didn't seem to have any intention of cooperating with them. Instead, he summoned him, a monster that just came from the outside world. Moreover, he tried to lower his status as much as possible. If the three-eyed ape's records were true, then when he asked a question, Doomed Xinghai might have already made his move. "You're indeed very special. Although I don't know the reason, but all the monsters that enter this place will quickly become skinny and lose their strong physique. And for humans like me, my lifespan will quickly decrease, and I will become an old man who doesn't have much time left to live. Or I will be like six-armed, becoming something that is neither human nor monster." Doomed Xinghai glanced at the six-armed snake man who was already about 400 meters away and sighed. "Six-armed used to be called Wang Fei. He was one of my most loyal guards. If it wasn't for him risking his life to protect me, this emperor might not have been able to hold on until Beast Lord Kirin arrived. Unfortunately, the only one that accompanied this emperor into the Hengduan mountain range alive was Wang Fei. After mysteriously entering this underground world, Wang Fei quickly mutated from a human into a six-armed snake man. He didn't even allow this emperor to call him by his name. Furthermore, he called himself six-armed. Other than his loyalty to this emperor, he gave up on everything related to humans. Lin Yuan was speechless for a moment. He always thought that those skinny monsters were because they didn't have enough food. But now, it seemed that the strange darkness area had the ability to absorb the lifespan or physique of living things. Only the light source area that the darkness couldn't invade could slow down the speed of being devoured. The reason why he didn't find any monster corpses along the way should be because they were all devoured by the darkness outside. Today's third update is delivered. Chapter 207. Absorbing other people's things for one's own use. Although it was evil and strange, it wasn't rare. Many human cultivators had similar techniques. For example, the Liu clan's old ancestor cultivated a technique to devour demonic beasts' bloodline. But to turn a living human into a six-armed demonic snake, Lin Yuan had never heard of it before. Perhaps if he included the memories of his previous life, only life forms that survived the radiation would be affected by it. Their bodies would grow abnormal organs, but their original characteristics would still remain. Just like how humans wouldn't turn into animals, they would at most turn into monsters. This kind of species change wasn't caused by radiation. The reason why Yu Xinghai felt that he was special should be because he walked from the darkness to the light source. Perhaps it was because he didn't change at all. Therefore, Yu Xinghai felt that the darkness here wouldn't affect him. He lowered himself in hopes of obtaining the ability to be immune to the darkness. If this ability was Lin Yuan's own talent, Yu Xinghai would give up on his thoughts and hope that Lin Yuan would be able to find a way out of here and bring him out. Therefore, before he figured out the secret of his body, Yu Xinghai wouldn't fall out with him. That was why he said that as long as he needed it, he could come and find him. His goal was to interact with him more, and see if he could find out the secret of him not being affected by the darkness. Black Snake, this emperor can see that you already have some thoughts. That's right, this emperor feels that you are special. It is exactly what you think. Your current appearance shouldn't have changed at all from when you came in. Therefore, this emperor guesses that the darkness outside shouldn't affect you. Yu Xinghai's eyes flashed with light as if he was contemplating something. Lin Yuan fell into deep thought. The demonic beasts here were all skinny and thin. This couldn't be faked. Moreover, the year Yu Xinghai was pulled down from the throne, he was indeed 100 years old. To a Heaven Dipper realm expert who had a lifespan of at least 800 years, it didn't make sense for him to be so old at such an age. Moreover, Lin Yuan really couldn't think of any reason why the other party would deceive him when they had already fallen to this point. When Lin Yuan woke up from his contemplation, he had already arrived at the edge of the light source area. As for Xie Xinghai, he was sitting on that blood-red turtle demon and was gradually moving further away. However, he did not open his mouth to interrupt Lin Yuan's contemplation. With a disbelieving mentality, Lin Yuan once again took the initiative to step into the darkness. It was still the same feeling as before. Everything was silent. Even if there was light in front of him, Lin Yuan couldn't see anything from his line of sight. Even his sense of smell couldn't detect anything. However, whether it was demonic beasts or cultivators, they could easily perceive the loss of blood and vitality in his body, but Lin Yuan didn't feel anything. The darkness here seemed to be unable to affect him at all. However, Lin Yuan couldn't figure out the reason behind this. It couldn't be that he was protected by an inexplicable force, because he had the system, right? System, can you explain what's going on? Lin Yuan asked in a probing manner. The system was silent for a moment, but still slowly gave an answer. The host should have been thrown into a secondary plane from the main plane. According to the host's understanding from the previous world, it should be called Sumeru World or Sumeru Paradise. This underground world is attached to the main plane, but there shouldn't be any connection between the two. If you can't find a spatial node, you won't be able to leave this place. According to the host's previous thoughts, it is absolutely impossible to leave this place. However, Sumeru worlds are usually very rare things. Without a certain amount of strength and resources, it is impossible to create them. It is basically impossible for them to form naturally. Therefore, every Sumeru world is basically the tomb of an expert. What is stored inside is usually the inheritance of an expert, waiting for a fated person to enter the Sumeru world to obtain it. According to the host's memory, the system guesses that this may be the real burial place of the Fire Kirin. However, the Fire Kirin seemed to be unwilling to die just like that, so it set up some kind of formation in its own Sumeru world to absorb the energy of the creatures that strayed into this place to nourish itself. Firstly, it can keep its corpse intact. Secondly, if there is enough energy, it can break through the boundary between life and death and resurrect again. After carefully reading the words given by the system in his mind, Lin Yuan was once again dumbfounded. This was the burial place of the Fire Kirin? But why was the Fire Kirin mentioned by the system, and the Fire Kirin mentioned by Hua Sanyang two completely different things? Previously, when Hua Sanyang was in danger in that strange cave, if it were not for the Fire Kirin scales, she might have been devoured by those monsters in the cave. If the Fire Kirin was really like what the system said, it would not let any living creature go. Unless, when Hua Sanyang was in danger in this damned place, it was not the Fire Kirin that saved her, but she chose to make a deal with the remnant consciousness of the Fire Kirin. After she left the Sumeru world, she would trick some monsters or humans into entering the Sumeru world to become nourishment for the Fire Kirin. Obviously, Lin Yuan was the unlucky one who was tricked into entering the Sumeru world. So what do I have to do to leave this place? Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly. With the host's ability, it is very difficult to find the connecting passage between the Sumeru world and the main world by yourself, so it is almost impossible for the host to find the exit. The black fog outside also obscures the system's perception, so even if the host walked in front of the spatial node, the system would not be able to sense it. Therefore, the system suggests that the host first find the fire Kirin's body and destroy it. Once the formation here loses its supply target, it will naturally become chaotic. It will take at most half a year, or at least 3 months, for the formation to collapse naturally, and the black fog outside will no longer exist. At that time, the system will naturally find the spatial node to leave the Sumeru world for the host. Lin Yuan sucked in a breath of cold air. The system analyzed that he could not find the way out of here, so it suggested that he destroy the fire Kirin's body. This seemed to be feasible. Feasible my ass. This system was indeed a scammer. Although Lin Yuan was not sure what the fire Kirin's body was, he was 80% sure that it had something to do with the light source here. The darkness outside could not penetrate the light source, but the humans and monsters in the light source were still being devoured. It was like boiling a frog in warm water. He was worried that these guys would be so exasperated that they would directly destroy the Kirin's body. If that happened, even if they killed all life here, the fire Kirin would not gain any benefits. This is a chapter with 20+ monthly votes. Chapter 208. If he wanted to destroy the remains of the fire Kirin, it would be the same as destroying the light source. Such an action would undoubtedly push him to the opposite side of all the creatures in the light source, and no one would choose to stand on his side. After all, Lin Yuan could not actively expose the existence of the system, so he could not produce evidence to prove that all of this was a conspiracy of the fire Kirin. The creatures here would not watch Lin Yuan destroy the light source because of a guess. After all, they could still struggle at death's door if they stayed here, but once they entered the dark area, they would soon die. Even a fierce and ruthless person like Du Xinghai was willing to gamble with his life, but the system also said that it would take at least 3 months to half a year for the formation here to collapse naturally. The creatures here were tortured to the brink of death, and only half of their lives were left. How many of them could survive such a long time in the dark? System, why can't the formation here affect me? Lin Yuan pondered for a moment, then communicated with the system through his mind. If he could find this life-devouring formation that did not affect him, he might be able to replicate it. In this way, not only would he not have to be enemies with all the creatures in the light source, but he would also be able to obtain their help. After all, the fire Kirin was still not obedient after its death. Judging from the fact that it had released Hua Sanyang, the Black Eagle, and the demon beast that had been monitoring his progress, this fire Kirin still retained a certain level of consciousness. If he wanted to destroy its remains, he would have to go through it first. How could the host ask such a question? Although the system is an infinite evolution system, the attribute points that the host obtains from killing the demon beasts are also a kind of devouring ability. The system only refines the essence of the demon beasts into attribute points for the host to absorb, so as to achieve the effect of rapidly increasing the host's strength. Does the host think that the formation set up by a small fire Kirin can be compared to the crystallization of the wisdom of thousands of worlds? In terms of devouring ability, even if I let it study it for another 100 years, it won't be able to touch the host at all. With a simple question, the system once again revealed its true nature. It was arrogant, proud, and sharp-tongued. The difficulties that Lin Yuan found difficult to overcome were nothing more than a joke in the eyes of the system. Even an existence like the fire Kirin was nothing more than an ant in the eyes of the system. The system's reply made Lin Yuan feel slightly relieved. After all, with the protection of the system, even if he died of thirst or starvation, the fire Kirin would not use him as nourishment for his own resurrection. Therefore, he still had plenty of time to prepare. However, the system's reply also pushed Lin Yuan to the position of being the enemy of all life in the light source. Lin Yuan wanted to go out, and they also wanted to go out, but the price of going out was their lives. Lin Yuan lowered his head and pondered for a moment. When he raised his head again, his heterochromatic eyes were already flashing with a cold light. Anyway, these life forms in the light source would die sooner or later. Instead of becoming nourishment for the Fire Kirin's resurrection, they might as well become Lin Yuan's attribute points to become stronger. When Lin Yuan destroyed the Fire Kirin's corpse, it could be considered as revenge for them. Glancing at his attribute panel, Lin Yuan's eyes flashed with a cold light. He rushed into the light source again and added 3 more free attribute points to olfactory imaging. After all, the growth of this talent was extremely high. Every time it grew, the detection range would double. Olfactory imaging creates an accurate image of a 32,000-meter range around the body based on smell, can be upgraded, 6 out of 100. After reading the introduction of the skill after adding points, Lin Yuan's heart burned with passion. 32,000 meters was only a corner of the Hengduan Mountains, and it could not even illuminate the entire Stoneclaw Forest. However, in this limited Sumeru world, his 32,000-meter detection range was now enough to cover a quarter of the light source. Within his detection range, all life forms would have nowhere to hide. Kill. With a thought, Lin Yuan's killing intent bloomed. At the same time, outside the Hengduan Mountains, the purple-eyed youth, Lei Fan, was leaning against a thick tree trunk, quietly looking at Na Qin, who was standing in front of him. What you mean is that the Black Snake fellow has gone to explore the burial grounds of the Fire Kirin alone. What the hell? I've just gotten on the right track here, and it's already dropping the ball on its end? Lei Fan's face gradually darkened. Na Qin looked at Lei Fan expressionlessly and said in a low muffled voice, "Human, I don't have a good impression of your race. If you had not helped the Black Snake Beast King previously, I would not have specially made a trip here to inform you. The Stoneclaw Forest Beast Kings are changing very quickly, as if there are some demonic beasts surrounding us. Hence, I will not be able to take care of your side in the short term. But you can rest assured that towards the newly built mountain blocking city, the Stoneclaw Forest will definitely not participate in any offensive operations. The Black Snake Beast King's promise will always be valid." Damn you! Lei Fan forcefully suppressed his anger and did not finish his sentence. Although the Stoneclaw Forest's strength was the best preserved existence in this area, but the new batch of Beast Kings were all ferocious dragons crossing the river. Whether or not they were targeting the Stoneclaw Forest was hard to say, but the demonic Beast King would definitely not allow a new mountain blocking city to be built. At that time, with the Beast King Kirin's command, with the current mountain blocking city's defensive capabilities, it would definitely not be able to withstand the next wave of beast hordes. After thinking for a moment, Lei Fan bit his lips and said word by word, "How about this if the demonic Beast King sends an emissary ordering you to attack Mountain Blocking City? Help me negotiate. Even if I am still willing to keep the contract of not allowing Mountain Blocking City's demon-subduing masters to enter the Hengduan Mountains to hunt. Ask them to lift a hand and let me off. Is that all right?" If the Black Snake was in power, not to mention not participating in the attack on Mountain Blocking City, even if the emissary of the demonic Beast King came, the Black Snake would not give them any face. Taking advantage of the beast hordes, it could even raid the old homes of the Beast Kings. But if Na Qin was in power, that would be a different matter altogether. Hence, Lei Fan, who had wholeheartedly wanted to achieve some results and be transferred away, had no choice but to swallow this loss and voluntarily give up some benefits in exchange for a period of time at death's door. Even though this was the case, no matter how Lei Fan thought about it, he could not help but feel that he was a thief. It was as if he had been schemed against by the Black Snake again. What a cunning Black Snake. He had already risked his life and future to help it, but in the end, that bastard still insisted on disgusting him at this critical juncture. Exploring the burial grounds of the Fire Kirin on its own, and even handing over the control of the territory to Na Qin, who did not like humans. It was hard to say if this was not the Black Snake's intention. He had gone through so much trouble, and in the end he was still starting from scratch. This is a chapter with 40 monthly votes. Continue to beg for monthly votes. Chapter 209. Mountain Blocking City is very important to the Shimwu dynasty. Even if the nearby Beast Kings come together, we still have to defend this place to the death. If we light up the smoke signal, the nearest army will arrive within 7 days. As long as we can defend these 7 days, there will be reinforcements arriving one after another. At that time, We will give these demonic beasts a hard time, and they will naturally know our determination to rebuild Mountain Blocking City. Commander Li gently picked up a chess piece from the sand table and placed it in the area that represented Mountain Blocking City. Luo Su, whose face was completely destroyed by the inferno flames, gently shook his head and said with a hoarse voice, "First of all, I acknowledge Commander Li's bravery, but your thinking is wrong. All the theoretical knowledge in military books is meaningless in actual combat, because even if you know how to use troops, the demonic beasts are not fools." Luo Su's finger gently moved around on the sand table and pointed at the chess pieces that represented him. Recently, the demonic beasts have been extremely hostile to us humans, so we can't enter the Hengduan mountain range. We also don't know the situation inside. Therefore, according to the previous information, there are about 20 demonic beasts that will attack Mountain Blocking City. Among them, the Black Snake, White Deer, and King Kong are worthy of our attention. Wait. Luo Su's words had yet to fade when Commander Li interrupted him with a cold expression. Why did you not include the cold pool crane? According to my information, the cold pool crane is undoubtedly the strongest demonic beast among the beast kings in the vicinity of Mountain Blocking City. Could it be that you are certain that the cold pool crane will not participate in this battle? I can answer your question, but before I finish, please don't interrupt me because it's very impolite. Luo Su glanced at Commander Li with displeasure and said in a deep voice, "In the previous war that destroyed Zhongshan City, these beast kings participated in the entire process. Commander Li, the cold pool crane that you mentioned earlier had fallen in the previous war. However, the remaining 3 beast kings are very difficult to deal with. Moreover, they have real experience in large-scale battles with us humans. In addition, although the surrounding beast kings are not as difficult to deal with as these 3 beast kings, to be able to dominate the Hengduan mountain range, they naturally have their own strengths. Therefore, if we underestimate them, we will have to pay a heavy price. There's also the reinforcements that Commander Li mentioned. That's another problem. Commander Li is right. If the nearest city to Zhongshan City were to send reinforcements to support us, it would only take 7 days for them to arrive at Zhongshan City. However, have you ever thought about the possibility of the nearby cities not sending reinforcements to us?" When his voice fell, Luo Su's pair of bright black eyes flashed with a cold light. "How is this possible?" Regiment Commander Li was slightly stunned before he angrily rebuked. "Do you know that if a border city is attacked, the nearby cities must send reinforcements? This is the iron law of the Shenwu dynasty, and no one can break it." "Haha, before the victory is counted, the defeat is counted first." Luo Su smiled contemptuously and said in a deep voice, "I'm not saying that the nearby cities disobeyed the order. I'm just saying, what if the demonic beasts attacked Mountain Blocking City at the same time? Previously, the troops of the nearby cities were stationed outside the ruins of Mountain Blocking City, and only explored the ruins after all the reinforcements arrived. It was true that the border cities helped each other, but they were all cities facing the Hengduan mountain range. It didn't make sense for everyone to risk their lives to help Mountain Blocking City when it was in trouble, right? It was human nature to preserve their strength. After all, the demonic beasts were attacking Mountain Blocking City today. If you went to provide reinforcements, the demonic beasts would arrive at your city the next day. Mountain Blocking City would not have the strength to support you, so what could you do?" This, Regiment Commander Li lowered his head. For a moment, he didn't know how to answer. Although Shen Linjun's reserve regiment was selected from the elites, Luo Su had been the regiment commander of Mountain Blocking City's garrison legion for 2 generations. Fighting against the demonic beasts had become his daily routine. In terms of experience, he was naturally more outstanding than Regiment Commander Li. The situation he mentioned just now was not likely to happen under normal circumstances. However, if the demonic beast king court ordered the attack on Mountain Blocking City, then the demonic beast kings nearby would not be the only ones mobilized. Although the demonic beast kings near the border cities would not launch a large-scale attack on the human cities, they would only be holding the line behind the demonic beast tide. From time to time, they would appear in the humans' line of sight and bring great pressure to the other border cities. Moreover, the 7 great empires couldn't say that the demonic beast king court was deliberately provoking an all-out war. After all, the demonic beasts were only holed up in the Hengduan mountain range for safety reasons. No one really restricted the demonic beasts' range of activity. It was just that once they left the Hengduan mountain range, no one could guarantee that the demonic beasts would be able to return safely. Let's talk about the facts. With mountain blocking cities' current defensive fortifications, it's simply a pipe dream to defend against the demonic beast tide launched by the demonic beast king court. Personally, I don't recommend to defend to the death. Before the demonic beast tide arrives, we should evacuate a certain distance in advance. If the demonic beasts attack empty air, they will naturally disperse very quickly. The only thing they can do is to destroy the temporary defensive fortifications that we have just built. However, it's just a bunch of construction materials. Luo Su's eyes flickered with wisdom. He sneered and said, "However, this kind of operation is not something that the demonic beast kings can casually launch. Every time they come, they will suffer great losses. Just by rewarding the demonic beasts under their command, they will have to pay a considerable amount of spirit items. When they come a few more times, even if we build mountain blocking city right under their noses, they won't dare to attack us again." This, Regiment Commander Li's lips opened and closed. He wanted to say something, but he couldn't find anything to refute. After all, the art of war could be summed up in 6 words. Fight with force, win with surprise. Although Luo Su's suggestion was a little wretched, no one could deny that Luo Su's suggestion could indeed allow them to effectively reduce their losses. They didn't even need to pay the price of their lives. As long as the demonic beasts attack empty air a few times, they would naturally not fight to the death with them. However, in Shen Linjun's training, there had never been such a method of fighting. Especially when the enemy had yet to enter their territory, they would directly retreat with their men and wait for the enemy to retreat before coming back to rebuild the incomplete or destroyed fortifications. If this matter were to spread back to Shen Linjun, their reserve regiment would most likely be removed from the list of Shen Linjun. As the regiment commander, he would also become a laughingstock in the past. This is the chapter with the full 60 pages plus more. Chapter 210. What kind of person was Luo Su? He was born in the Lei clan and had assisted 2 castellans. Luo Su was able to survive the Battle of Zhanshan City, which proved that Luo Su was a scheming person and was not a kind person. Thus, Regiment Commander Li only hesitated for a moment, but Luo Su had already guessed that Regiment Commander Li had already been convinced by his words. It was just that he didn't agree because of his pride. Luo Su only needed to coax Regiment Commander Li a bit more, and he would be able to convince Regiment Commander Li to take his men and retreat first. There's one more thing. Commander Li, you were only calculating the combat power of the entire Zhanshan city. However, you seem to have forgotten that other than the men you brought, the Castellan doesn't have many men. The main force is still those mercenaries and demon slayers who are willing to risk their lives for profit. Commander Li can guarantee that you and your men will not retreat, but can you guarantee that these guys won't retreat? Commander Li, don't forget that 5 years ago, Luoyu City was reduced to a lawless area. Wasn't it because the Demon Slayers Association and the Merchant Guild schemed against us, causing the dynasty to lose a lot of men? That's why the control of Luoyu City was seized. Luo Su's eyes flickered with a faint light. He spoke again and attacked Commander Li's psychological barrier. All right. Then we'll retreat first. Commander Li's eyes spat out 2 balls of fire. He gritted his teeth and said, "However, you better remember this. The construction of Zhanshan City must be completed. If you still insist on retreating at the crucial moment, I'll be the first to kill you." The training and education he received in Shenlin Jun constantly reminded Commander Li that he had to prioritize the interests of the dynasty. If he led his men to defend Zhanshan City, even if he could defend it, the Demon Slayers Association and the Merchant Guild would fight for power. Even if he had 3 heads and 6 arms, he wouldn't be able to do anything, right? After all, there were precedents like this. The Divine Martial Emperor had been in charge of the dynasty for so many years. Although he had made some achievements from time to time, it didn't mean that his territory had not been seized by the enemy. Some cities were even still autonomous. Even if the Shimwu dynasty wanted to, They were unable to restore their rule over those cities. Don't worry, Commander Li. Although I cherish my life, I'm not afraid of it. If my death is valuable to Dynasty, I'll definitely die without regrets. Luo Su cupped his hands at Commander Li, a subtle change in his expression. This kind of one-track-minded hot-blooded youth looked outstanding and hot-blooded, but once they left the training camp, if they couldn't quickly change their mentality, they would soon be killed by all kinds of schemes. Once upon a time, he was also a person like Regiment Commander Li, but as time passed, all his edges and corners were smoothed out, and he learned to be hypocritical and slick. He looked at Regiment Commander Li in front of him, as if he was looking at his past self. For some reason, he had the thought of wanting to protect this hot-blooded person. This Lei is not a person who likes to meddle in everything. Both of you are my right-hand men. Since you are of the same opinion, there is no need for this Lei to say more. Sitting on the main seat, Lei Fan slowly opened his mouth and said, Luo Su, you are the one who came up with the plan. You are in charge of formulating the retreat plan, and at the same time, estimate the number of times the demonic beasts will attack. Once we reach a safe place, I want to see your entire plan. Also, Regiment Commander Li, during this period of time when Luo Su is formulating the plan, don't be idle. First, arrange for the ordinary citizens in the city to bring all the resources and supplies that can be brought away, and leave this place first. After that, get the construction team to abandon the buildings that are still under construction, and bring the remaining construction materials to the rendezvous point that Luo Su has designated. I will report the operation this time to the higher-ups. Lei Fan was a person who was very decisive. Therefore, he did not plan to slowly discuss it here. Instead, he roughly assigned the tasks, striving to evacuate the majority of the resources before the demonic beasts arrived at Zhanshan City. After that, he had to prepare a suitable report and submit it to the higher-ups. After all, the comprehensive national strength of the Xinwu dynasty was indeed not as good as its predecessor, the 10,000 Sword dynasty. However, their attitude towards outsiders was extremely unyielding. Previously, the city lord of Zhanshan City had his entire family executed just because he sent the three-eyed ape over once. And this time, he did not even have the intention to engage in battle with the demonic beasts, and directly withdrew from this place. Of course, the previous city lord who had his entire family executed did not have any background, so he did not even have the leeway to struggle. However, he was obviously not in existence without a background. With the help of the forces behind him, he would be able to turn the unreasonable into reasonable. It was just that his report this year might be very ugly. After all, according to Luo Su's words, the demonic beast's sudden attack on Zhanshan City was definitely not a problem that could be solved once or twice. If he were to retreat time and time again, it would only cause the Xinwu dynasty's face to fall again and again. When he returned to the imperial capital at the end of the year to report his work, who knew how many people would be waiting to see him make a fool of himself, and who knew how many people would use this opportunity to make things difficult for him? Phew! After Luo Su and Leader Li stood up and bid farewell, Lei Fan slowly leaned back on the chair and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He was thinking about when Na Qin's side would be able to establish contact with the demonic beast royal court. After all, although the beast lord Kirin had disappeared in recent years, he was still an ambitious and ruthless person who was active in the Tianwu continent. It was impossible for him not to see through the situation. The humans were determined to build a border city near Zhanshan City. Even if they managed to defeat him and his group, the Xinwu dynasty would still send stronger existences over. Until Zhanshan City was built once again, and the sword pointed at the Hengduan mountain range. The sincerity that Lei Fan was willing to show was actually a gamble that Black Snake would be able to control the situation to a certain extent. After all, if Black Snake was unable to control the outer regions of the Hengduan mountain range, the demonic beast royal court would not allow the Xinwu dynasty to break the contract and enter the Hengduan mountain range to hunt. If he was unable to break the contract, he would not be able to give an explanation to the Xinwu dynasty. His own future would most likely end there. He would become the lord of Zhanshan City, and then be transferred to a small government office to take up an idle position. After all, The power behind him would never raise a useless person. Jialuo, get the representatives of the Merchant Association and the Demon Subduing Master Association to come see me. I have something to tell them. Lei Fan gradually recovered from his state of emptiness. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. They are already here. They have been waiting outside the door all this while, waiting for you to summon them. Jialuo bowed slightly. His figure flashed and disappeared into the void. The next moment, the door of the meeting room was pulled open. Two burly men walked in side by side. They looked at each other and snorted disdainfully. This is a chapter that has 80 monthly votes. Please continue to request for monthly votes. Charge up the rankings. The author will continue to write. Chapter 211. Host Lin Yuan status. Sky-piercing black python, transforming into a flood dragon realm. 16/20th speed, 100 defense, 100 plus 20 attack, 150 demonic power, 607 assignable attribute points, 21 innate skills, 1. Identify enemy's location by smell, unupgradable, 2. Create an accurate image of a 32,000 meter radius by smell, upgradable, 6/103. Monarch of Water, your ability to control water has reached a certain level. In front of you, most methods of controlling water flow are so shallow and inferior. As long as you have a thought, you can deprive your opponent of their ability to control water flow at any time. Upgradable 0/104. Formless Ice, your control of the ice element has reached a certain level. You are no longer the little trash that could only freeze water to injure others. The current you, combined with your water-type innate skill, can even freeze water in the air, turning your ice into formless. Upgradable 0/305. Blood Sacrifice Wish Technique. Use your own blood or that of other creatures. Can be replaced by attribute points as a sacrifice to make a wish. The strength of the wish and the quality of the sacrifice will determine whether or not the wish will be fulfilled. Unupgradable 6. Flood Dragon Scale Armor. When the scale armor is in good condition, can provide the host with a 20% increase in defense. Unupgradable 6. Pseudo-lawful embodiment of heaven and earth. The ancient holy kings ruled the world because they had reached the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth realm. To cultivators, lawful embodiment of heaven and earth is the foundation of their path. After comprehending this skill, you can control the size of your body at will. The smallest size cannot be smaller than the smallest size of your species, and the largest size cannot exceed your original size. Upgradable 0/100 Martial Arts 1. Golden Body Secrets 65/100 2. Tyrannical Singing Unupgradable Skills 1. Void's Embrace 13/502. Poison of Poisoned Wine 220/303. Thorny Whip 31/304. Blood Boil Technique 7/105. All things have spirit, can be used to communicate with other creatures. Unupgradable. Looking at his status panel, Lin Yuan paused for a moment. He turned around to look at the mountain of corpses and sea of blood behind him. Even though he was used to the darkness and blood of this world, he still felt nauseous. After all, there was a huge difference between looking at a corpse and looking at a mountain of corpses, even if the mountain was created by him. Pa, pa, pa. Xie Xinghai smiled and clapped his hands, laughing. Black Snake, you are indeed powerful. You have only been in the underground world for 2 days and you have already turned this place upside down. Unknowingly, the doomed Starseed looked at Lin Yuan with dread in his eyes. At the same time, his tone was a bit more respectful. After all, they had already come into contact with the Black Serpent when it first entered the light source. At that time, the Black Serpent was only a 4th-level wisdom demonic snake. But 2 days later, the Black Serpent had already become a 6th-level wisdom demonic beast. If it continued to grow at this speed, it would be hard to say just what the upper limit of the Black Serpent was. You flatter me. Lin Yuan nodded lightly. He had already arrived at the middle area where the light source was more intense. Although he was still unable to look directly at the source of the light, he could feel that the fire attribute spirit energy in the air was getting denser and denser. As a cold-blooded animal that was unable to regulate its body temperature, Lin Yuan loved to bask in the sun. However, in this level of fire attribute spirit energy, it could no longer be described as basking in the sun. It should be said that right now, Lin Yuan felt like he was being roasted on a fire. Although the discomfort was getting more and more serious, as his strength increased, Lin Yuan's resistance also increased. Therefore, even though the blood in his body was boiling and burning, he was still able to show an indifferent expression on his face. Although this feeling brought him discomfort physically, Lin Yuan was actually cheering in his heart because he was more and more certain that the light source here was coming from the fire Kiran's corpse. He was one step closer to escaping from this damned place. Black Snake, what are you planning to do next? Are you going to continue killing? Condemned Xinghai's gaze fell on Lin Yuan as he licked his dry lips. Even though this black snake had only been here for 2 days, the commotion it had caused wasn't small. Almost the entire light source had been ruthlessly plowed by it. Not a single one of the demonic beasts at the wisdom state level 3 to 5 had been spared. All of them had been slaughtered by this black snake that always started killing for no reason. Sometimes, condemned Xinghai even felt that this black snake might have gone crazy. After all, if it didn't fight and kill for food in this kind of place, wouldn't it be very stupid? However, every time he saw this black snake would be calm in the beginning. It was also very cautious when choosing its opponents. It would never fight a battle that it wasn't confident in. It would avoid being in a situation where it was attacked from both sides. How could this kind of behavior be done by a demonic beast that had lost its mind? This was a massacre that had been planned long ago. Of course. If I don't continue killing, how will I lure that damn thing out? Lin Yuan glanced at condemned Xinghai with a faint smile on his face and said, Senior Condemned, I told you before that there is a fella that set up an array that devours the lifespan and blood chi of others. The loss of the demonic beast's body and your lifespan is all because this fella used the array to absorb it. This energy was extracted by the array, and then went through a complicated refining and purification process. Finally, it turned into pure life energy and injected into that thing's body. If I don't continue killing, how will I attract that thing's attention and make it come out to find me? This, condemned Xinghai was speechless for a moment. He was afraid that if the black snake continued killing, it would soon be his turn. Therefore, he took the opportunity when his strength was enough to suppress the black snake to meet with it. He wanted to make the black snake stop this crazy killing. However, the black snake's theory coincidentally explained what the darkness in the outside world was, and also pointed out where his lifespan flowed to. Then, if I destroy this array, will my lifespan be able to? Condemned Xinghai's voice was trembling. There was no one who didn't wish to live for a longer period of time, especially someone like condemned Xinghai, who should have been able to live for 800 years. However, he hadn't even lived for 100 years, and his body had already entered the state of Heaven Man 5 decay. At most, he would die in 10 years. Lin Yuan didn't doubt that if he could help condemned Xinghai get back his lifespan, this human Emperor Sun would definitely be grateful to him in a short period of time. Unfortunately, Lin Yuan shook his head. Helplessness flashed across his heterochromatic eyes as he said, Senior Condemned, it is not that I don't want to help you get back your lifespan. However, I am still not very familiar with this array. I only know how it works. If it was just extracted not long ago, you might be able to get back your lifespan by destroying the array. But if it has already been absorbed by the other party, then even if you peel off its skin and break its bones, it will still be useless. This is the extra chapter for the monthly ticket of 100 chapters. Are there any more? Chapter 212. Sigh. Jiu Xinghai sighed helplessly and said, I know, but it's better to be able to recover a portion of it. Tell me, how should I help you? After knowing that he couldn't recover all of his lifespan, Jiu Xinghai's face revealed a helpless expression. Senior, you only need to watch. If this junior manages to draw out the hidden ghost, please contact those Heavenly Dipper realm experts that you are on good terms with to quickly rush over and kill it. As long as this fellow is killed, although this formation will continue to operate, the energy will lose its target and accumulate together. At that time, the formation will naturally collapse, and the lifespan that was sucked away by Senior will return to Senior's body. Also, the thing that is blocking the exit is an endless darkness. As long as the formation is broken, the black fog that is devouring your lifespan will naturally disperse. At that time, we will be able to leave this place. Lin Yuan still had an expressionless look on his face, and answered in a dull voice. The matter about the formation was true. Theoretically speaking, the purified life energy would not be poured into the body of the initial target, but would continue to accumulate in the formation until the entire formation collapsed. Then the life energy would wander between heaven and earth, looking for things that were compatible with itself and fusing with them. And the life that was infused with the life energy would obtain great benefits. So theoretically speaking, Jiu Xinghai's lifespan could indeed return to his body. The prerequisite was that after the fire Kirin's body was destroyed, Jiu Xinghai could survive in the life-devouring black fog for a long time. After all, the life essence wouldn't enter a corpse. The reason why Lin Yuan wasted time talking to Jiu Xinghai was because he indeed needed them to deal with the fire Kirin's remnant soul. However, he didn't expect that these existences that were struggling at death's door would be able to deal with the fire Kirin's remnant soul. After all, the other party had a natural advantage. Even if it couldn't win against so many experts and use the light source as a threat, even if these people didn't help it deal with Lin Yuan, they would still stop and watch the situation develop. However, the reason why he was willing to talk to Jiu Xinghai was to give face to those Heaven Dipper Realm and Mountain Lord Realm existences that still maintained their rationality. He said that he would only touch intelligence realm monsters, and as long as they didn't care, everyone would be able to sleep well. As for how long this period of time was, it was up to each person to understand. Of course. Jiu Xinghai laughed. Black Snake should have some common sense in the adult world, right? Although Doomed Xinghai was considered a relatively young Heaven Dipper Realm expert among cultivators, he was also a person who had lived for dozens of years. He had long passed the hot-blooded age. Not to mention that he didn't have any relationship with Black Snake. Even if he did, he would hide behind the scenes and observe the existence that was lured out. He wanted to see if he could deal with it. In any case, they were all seeking to live. If they really couldn't resist, they might as well die a little later. What if there were other opportunities in the future? The man and the snake looked at each other and smiled. Their eyes shone brightly, but their expressions did not show the slightest bit of hypocrisy. Wait! The smile on Yu Xinghai's face suddenly stopped, and he stared at Lin Yuan with a burning gaze, saying in a deep voice, "Black Snake, you are the only one who is not affected by the devouring array here, so why are you the one who is most anxious to get out? Also, isn't your speed of improvement a little too fast? Could it be that you are that damn thing that is hiding in the dark and wants to bait us so that you can defeat us one by one?" Lin Yuan didn't know how to answer, but he also couldn't deny that Jiu Xinghai's thoughts were reasonable. As Jiu Xinghai's voice fell, a few divine senses landed on him. It was obvious that Jiu Xinghai had this suspicion for a long time. He came today to test Lin Yuan, and even his helpers were lying in ambush. The moment Lin Yuan revealed anything, these people would rush in and kill him. "Senior Jiu, recently there have been a few demonic beasts outside. If I didn't remember wrongly, you also got Lu Bai to capture them to your side, right? Firstly, it was to see if it was my problem or if the darkness outside had lost the ability to devour your life force. Secondly, it was to get information about me from these demonic beasts, right? Interesting. Senior Jiu, look around. Do you know where this place is? This is a Sumeru world. If one isn't in the desolate demon realm, it is impossible to break through the void and locate the Sumeru world. Adding on this array, even the Myriad Sword Imperial Court might not be able to make something like this, right? I am honored that Senior Jiu thinks so highly of me, a little wisdom realm demonic beast. However, Senior Jiu should have heard about me. After all, I am not a nameless demonic beast. Although the Stone Claw Forest's Beast King cannot be compared to the Beast Imperial Court's big shots. In the outer regions of the Hengduan mountain range, I have a little bit of fame." Lin Yuan's attitude was very arrogant, and he looked like he had nothing to fear. Firstly, what he said was the truth, and he was not afraid of these fellows trying to pry information out from the mouths of the demonic beasts. Secondly, because of the temperamental nature of Death Star C. The moment he showed any signs of fear or did not answer, this old fogey might just directly kill him. Lin Yuan was definitely not Jiu Xinghai's opponent now, and it was hard to say if he could escape unscathed. Not to mention that there was a group of experts lying in ambush. At Jiu Xinghai's level, the helpers he called over would definitely not be at the Wisdom Realm or Airborne Realm. At the very least, they would not be weaker than him. Hee, Black Snake Beast King, your name is indeed like thunder. Jiu Xinghai's attitude changed, and his face became amiable again. He only wanted to trick this black snake. After all, according to the demonic beasts from the outside world, this black snake was not easy to deal with. Even Beast King Kirin didn't dare to casually destroy an entire human city, but this black snake did it, and the Xinwu dynasty didn't dare to take revenge. This was enough to show how extraordinary this black snake was. If it was scared by him, it could only mean that this black snake was pretending to be like this, and had ulterior motives. In addition, when he heard that a city of the Xinwu dynasty was razed to the ground by demonic beasts, Jiu Xinghai felt very happy, as if he had drunk a large bottle of ice-cold honey during the hottest days of the year. If Senior Jiu doesn't have anything else, I will go and rest first. There are still many things waiting for me to do. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes didn't have the slightest ripple. The moment Jiu Xinghai laughed, the pressure on his body suddenly disappeared, as if it had never appeared. Chapter 213. These guys have already sensed that something is wrong. Does that mean that the remnant soul of the fire Kirin has also discovered me? Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly and glanced at the source of light in the distance. A hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. To the fire Kirin, this Sumeru world was a farm where it could harvest life energy at any time. He had killed the monsters in the periphery. Although overall, the life energy provided by these monsters combined might not be as much as the life energy provided by a master. No matter how small a mosquito was, it was still meat. The fire Kirin kept capturing monsters and humans from the outside world to this place, because its life energy was not enough to break through the barrier between life and death and allow it, who had already died, to return to this world. This behavior continued until it turned this area into the infamous ghost realm of the Hengduan Mountains. However, it was still thinking of ways to create ghosts like Hua Sanyang to trick more prey for itself. This was very reasonable. After all, life and death were reincarnations. Even the existence of the wild demon realm would have an end to its lifespan. Unless one could transcend the rules of this world, immortality was just a joke. In order to break the reincarnation between life and death, even if one had the means to do so, one must pay a sufficient price. Lin Yuan wantonly killed monsters in the light source, and turned them into attribute points for himself. This could be considered as snatching food. After all, after the demon beasts fought each other, even if a part of their flesh was eaten, the remaining bones would be devoured by the black mist outside, and turned into tiny wisps of weak life energy for the fire Qilin. However, the system had already refined the life energy of the monsters killed by Lin Yuan into attribute points. Even if the black fog devoured them, the fire Kirin would not benefit at all. After all, the devouring formation set up by the fire Kirin was just a joke in the eyes of the system. Lin Yuan was a little nervous. He stayed in the same place for about 10 minutes, but nothing unusual happened. Lin Yuan was not sure whether the remnant soul of the fire Kirin had not discovered him or was afraid of him, so it did not appear rashly. This is not the right attitude. Even if you are afraid of me, you should at least appear in front of me and open a path for me to leave this place. I can promise that we will not interfere in each other's business in the future. I can pretend that nothing happened these past few days. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes swayed from side to side as he asked tentatively. Unfortunately, there was still no response. The fire Kirin was like a turtle that had retreated into its shell. No matter how the rain and wind blew outside, it did not move it. Lin Yuan had no other choice but to go to the Kirins he had already chosen. He had come here for the fire Kirin in the first place. Whether it was the life energy stored by the Kirin formation here, or the materials on the fire Kirin's corpse, Lin Yuan was very interested in them. Therefore, even if the Fire Kirin's remnant soul had sent him to the spatial node, Lin Yuan would not have any thoughts of leaving. He only wanted to test the strength of the Fire Kirin's remnant soul. If the Kirin was really afraid of him, then some of his subsequent plans could be changed slightly, and he should be able to leave this place much earlier. After all, this was an existence that could be mentioned in the same breath as the Beast Lord Kirin when it was alive. Even if only a strand of its remnant soul was left after its death, it was still not to be underestimated. Even if it only had a tenth of its strength left, it would still be enough to give Lin Yuan a hard time. However, the Fire Kirin refused to appear, nor did it give Lin Yuan a chance to test its strength. It did not even want to communicate with him, directly leaving him here to fend for himself. As such, he could only continue killing. At the same time, about 1,500 meters above Lin Yuan, an eye that looked like a burning flame slowly opened. Every formation master had to have more than 90% control over their own formations. Therefore, ever since Lin Yuan entered the Sumeru world, he had been under the surveillance of the Fire Kirin's remnant soul. However, Lin Yuan's existence was beyond the Fire Kirin's knowledge, so it did not dare to show itself in front of Lin Yuan. Coupled with Lin Yuan's previous actions, it was obvious that he knew what the formation here was, and also knew who was behind the scenes. He just did not directly reveal it to the public. However, fear was fear. In the end, the Fire Kirin did not treat Lin Yuan as an equal opponent. It had obtained this formation by chance when it was alive, and once it was deployed, it had always been successful. It had never seen any life form that could withstand the devouring power of this formation, but this black snake was unharmed. Originally, the Fire Kirin was just a little curious, but after Lin Yuan started killing, its attitude slowly began to change. This black snake was definitely an incomparably terrifying existence. As the controller of the formation, it could clearly sense that a large amount of energy in the bodies of the monsters killed by the black snake was directly harvested by some strange power, and then entered the black snake's body. Moreover, this energy seemed to be instantly transformed and refined into something that the black snake could use. In just 2 days, the black snake's cultivation had increased by 2 whole levels. With the Fire Kirin's knowledge, it naturally reacted quickly. This black snake had definitely mastered some kind of devouring method that was even more powerful than its own. It was also because of this method that the devouring formation it had set up was unable to do anything to the black snake. If the Fire Kirin's remnant soul had just awakened, it might have let the black snake go, thinking that it was better to avoid unnecessary trouble. At most, it would have warned it to keep its mouth shut. However, the area where it was buried had become a ghost town. The monsters of the Hengduan mountain range regarded this place as a forbidden area. The Xinwu dynasty, which had been repeatedly damaged in the Stoneclaw Forest and even destroyed Jianshan City, was even more jittery. Recently, no demon slayer dared to enter the Hengduan mountain range. After all, no one knew where the demonized Feng Tian would go, or when the next monster tide would erupt. With Jianshan City as an example, no one dared to act rashly. Even in places that weren't affected by the incident at Jianshan City, the frequency of demon slayers entering the Hengduan mountain range to hunt had been greatly reduced. After all, although the 7 dynasties of the human race didn't get along well with each other, they had always shared information about monsters. Therefore, the appearance of a monster king that dared to destroy a human city and wasn't afraid of human retaliation was an extremely dangerous signal. Thus, when the Fire Qilin sensed the black snake harvesting the other party's energy, it had some thoughts. If the conversion rate of the Fire Qilin's devouring method was 1:1, then the conversion rate of the black snake's devouring method was 1:10. It was many times better than this devouring array. If it could obtain the black snake's devouring method, it could improve the devouring inscription in this formation. Even if it couldn't catch any new prey, it might be able to revive after absorbing the remaining monsters. Chapter 214. I'll choose you. The blazing eyes scanned the light source for a moment, and finally chose an intelligent perception level 8 demonic beast. Immediately after, a hint of pain flashed across the demonic beast's eyes. Whoosh. In an instant, the demonic beast that was resting on the ground suddenly stood up. A ball of orange-red flames burned all over its body, and these flames were still wriggling nonstop, reconstructing its form. In less than 2 breaths, with this demonic beast as the foundation, a flaming bear slowly appeared in front of the nearby demonic beasts. Its aura also suddenly increased by a notch. Ding. Detected hostility. The system is scanning. Mission Great Luck. Officially activated. The 2 system notifications pulled Lin Yuan back from the edge of being absent-minded. In the next moment, a stunned expression flashed across Lin Yuan's face. He turned his head and looked in front of him. In an instant, a cloud of dust rose up in front of him. It looked like many demonic beasts were charging in his direction. Lin Yuan's eyes revealed a hint of doubt. Weren't these intelligent perception demonic beasts unable to get too close to each other? Or else they would easily lose their rationality. But looking at the demonic beasts charging in front of him, Lin Yuan didn't see any signs of internal strife. Pairs of scarlet eyes all fell on Lin Yuan, as if they wanted to tear Lin Yuan to shreds. Lin Yuan lightly flicked his tongue and glanced at the scene in the olfactory imaging. In the middle of the attacking demonic beast horde, there was a flaming bear overseeing it. Every step it took on the ground was like a heavy drum beat. This flaming bear was very unusual. Generally speaking, demonic beasts had strong physiques. Almost not many demonic beasts would use their innate abilities to enhance themselves. 90% of demonic beasts would use their innate abilities to make up for their lack of long-range attacks in battle. Unless it was an ability that was especially suitable for enhancing themselves, or an ability that couldn't be used to attack, only then would they do so. This flaming bear gave Lin Yuan a strange feeling. Moreover, there seemed to be something wrong with the flaming bear's footsteps. In the olfactory imaging, Lin Yuan had seen demonic beasts that wanted to kill each other more than once. But when the flaming bear's footsteps landed, the demonic beasts would instantly regain their senses and once again charge at Lin Yuan in an orderly manner. Even a mountain lord demonic beast wouldn't have such an ability. Moreover, from the aura of this flaming bear, it was most likely only at intelligent perception level 8 or 9. The fire Kirin made its move. A strange color flashed through Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes. According to his original expectations, the fire Kirin should have appeared once to test the capabilities of this predator of his. Or maybe it didn't want to get involved with him at all, and found a suitable opportunity to directly throw him out of the spatial node or something. Lin Yuan had even considered that in order to avoid unnecessary complications, this fellow might even use a powerful force to directly suppress him. But what the hell was with this demonic beast horde in front of him? Lin Yuan could even feel gazes sweeping over from the depths of the light source. Obviously, they had noticed this flaming bear that had organized the demonic beast horde to attack the black serpent. Very soon, these experts who had communicated with each other realized that the fellow that the black serpent had mentioned, the one that had been plotting against them, had really appeared. That fellow is my subordinate. It was originally an intelligent perception level 8 frigid snow bear. Moreover, it was a rare dual-element demonic beast that had both an increase in strength and control of ice. Although after it lost its mind, it didn't contact me for a long time, but I can be sure that it definitely doesn't have the ability to control fire. A mountain lord demonic beast bit his lips and said with a resentful expression, "Ice and fire are 2 things that can't be mixed. This kind of talent can't appear in the same demonic beast." Ah, so you're telling me that the mastermind behind the scenes that Jiu Xinghai mentioned before also has the ability to use fire to control our bodies, right? A Heaven Dipper realm human laughed dryly, but his legs were slightly trembling. A intelligent perception level 8 demonic beast, and a mountain lord demonic beast were an entire realm apart. But everyone knew that when a demonic beast had just broken through to the mountain lord realm, its battle prowess might not be comparable to when they were in the intelligent perception realm. The person behind the scenes actually didn't panic at all when dealing with an existence like the Black Serpent. He could casually control an intelligent perception level 8 demonic beast for his own use. This was the true reason why he felt fear. After all, he was only a cultivator that had just stepped into the Heaven Dipper realm. In terms of pure strength, he might not be as strong as the frigid snow bear. If the mastermind behind the scenes could easily control the frigid snow bear, then it meant that he could easily be controlled as well. If you're scared, then go back and wait for your death. Why do you keep following us around for no reason? The doomed star sea rolled his eyes, and his expression was cold and gloomy as he replied in a bad mood. The appearance of the mastermind behind the scenes had already proven what the black serpent said to him. Compared to dying in battle, Jiu Xinghai didn't want to die in some corner of this place. He didn't even want to die in peace. Even his corpse would be refined into pure life energy by the enemy's formation. Although Jiu Xinghai hadn't done anything yet, in his eyes this cowardly human cultivator's words were like slaps to his face. Xinghai, what do you say? Should we go and help that black serpent? Another human cultivator asked with a solemn expression. As someone who had a good relationship with Jiu Xinghai, he could guess Jiu Xinghai's thoughts. But he didn't understand why Jiu Xinghai could still sit there calmly as if nothing had happened. Let's wait a while more. Jiu Xinghai crossed his arms in front of his chest. He had a cold smile on his face as he said coldly, "This black serpent wants to cooperate with us. Naturally, it can't just rely on its mouth. Let's look at the situation first. It's best if we can wait until this brat can't take it anymore before we make a move. We can also make it owe us a huge favor." Not only was the Fire Kirin thinking about Lin Yuan's secret of devouring other life forms, Jiu Xinghai also thought about the black serpent when he knew that he wouldn't be able to recover all of his life force. After all, a demonic beast that dared to fight against an unknown terrifying existence definitely had a huge secret on it. Today, I'll send you 3 chapters. I'll continue to ask for monthly votes. Every 20 votes, I'll add 1 more chapter. Chapter 215. Lin Yuan bent down slightly, dodging the tail of a snake demon. He glanced in the direction of Yu Xinghai and the other Heavenly Dipper realm powerhouses from the corner of his eyes. It was as if he had detected their existence across an endless distance. His eyes only revealed a trace of coldness, and he quickly returned to his original appearance. The relationship between the wartime alliance wasn't stable to begin with. This was within Lin Yuan's expectations. Now that the Fire Kirin's remnant soul had just attacked Lin Yuan, it didn't even reveal its own strength. Even the flaming violent bear that it highly valued didn't have any thoughts of confronting Lin Yuan. It only stepped on the ground from time to time, creating a drum-like sound, allowing the surrounding monster beasts to maintain their rationality. The Fire Kirin's remnant soul maintained this inconspicuous posture, which was enough to intimidate these existences. After all, for it to casually throw out an intelligence realm level 9 monster beast as the vanguard, its strength had probably long surpassed that of an ordinary mountain lord. Just this alone is far from enough. Lin Yuan dodged the sweeping tail of the snake demon, but he couldn't block the pounce of a black panther. He was pressed to the ground by the black panther in an instant. Then the black panther began to crazily bite Lin Yuan's body. When the surrounding monster beasts saw that Lin Yuan was under control, they all surrounded him, their eyes filled with malice. Even if the Fire Kirin's remnant soul didn't cause trouble, these monster beasts would have made a move on Lin Yuan sooner or later. Right now they were just doing it ahead of time. They were very clear about what would happen to them if they allowed Lin Yuan to continue growing. Dozens of monster beasts attacked at the same time, each attack using their full strength. However, in front of Lin Yuan's terrifying defense, this bit of attack power was like scratching an itch. It wasn't enough to pose a threat to Lin Yuan. The flaming violent bear's performance didn't change at all. It acted as a bystander, and didn't have the slightest intention of attacking Lin Yuan. After another 5 or 6 minutes, Lin Yuan suddenly twisted his body, and the snake demon's tail suddenly exerted force. The black panther on Lin Yuan's body was suddenly twisted into meat paste and stuck to Lin Yuan's body. A boundless and terrifying aura slowly emitted from Lin Yuan's body. The flaming violent bear expressionlessly took 2 steps forward, trampling 2 monster beasts that were constantly retreating in fear to death. Then it looked at Lin Yuan and said in a deep voice, "Black Snake Demon, you know what I want. As long as you're willing to give it to me, I'll make you become the co-ruler of man and monster beasts." "Co-ruler?" Lin Yuan sneered and replied, You're quite generous. However, you've spent so much effort to resurrect yourself. Are you willing to give up something that's within your reach? You don't really think that this king will believe your so-called fallacious reasoning of being able to stabilize the country forever, do you? Co-ruler of man and monster beasts. This position is very important. Are you going to give it to me just like that? The flaming violent bear didn't attack immediately, and Lin Yuan wasn't in a hurry to make a move either. A playful smile flashed across his heterochromatic eyes as he leisurely replied. The flaming violent bear slowly spread out its hands. There was a hint of laughter in its voice as it said, Black Snake Demon, you have some incredible secrets. However, you're still too immature right now. Compared to becoming the co-ruler of man and monster beasts, I want to return to this world. I want to return to this world. Otherwise, everything is just empty talk. Do you understand what I mean? The Fire Kirin's voice contained a hint of mockery. The Black Snake Demon was only in existence at Wisdom Realm Level 6. At its peak, it was an existence that could wrestle with Beast Lord Kirin. Once it completely resurrected and returned to this world, those fellows from back then would all have to pay an incomparably painful price. Raising a Black Snake Demon was only a matter of convenience for it. Therefore, although the Fire Kirin's suggestion contained a sense of superiority, it didn't have any thoughts of slaughtering the Black Snake Demon after eating it clean. Is that so? Unfortunately, I really can't think of anything that I can help you with. Lin Yuan shook his snake head and replied to the flaming violent bear. In the image formed by his sense of smell, the conversation between him and the flaming violent bear was all heard by those powerhouses. At this moment, all the powerhouses, including Jinxing Hai, were ready to make a move. The Black Snake Demon was a sharp blade against the mastermind behind the scenes. Although they didn't put it in their eyes, if the Black Snake Demon allied with the mastermind behind the scenes, it wouldn't benefit them at all. Moreover, the mastermind behind the scenes obviously wanted to obtain something from the Black Snake Demon. Once it succeeded, their situation would become even more precarious. The flaming violent bear lightly pressed its palm. After all, it was the lord of the Sumeru world, so it naturally had some privileges. So at the same time that the flaming violent bear pressed its palm down, a huge bookshelf appeared in front of Lin Yuan. The flaming violent bear walked to the side of the bookshelf and said with a smile, These are the absolute arts that I have collected over the years. There are all kinds of methods that humans use to cultivate their qi, and there are also methods that monsters use to cultivate their innate abilities. Once out of curiosity, I cultivated a monster that didn't have any innate talent into an existence that cultivates ice, water, and wind. As long as you have the perseverance, as long as the innate attributes you choose don't conflict with each other, I can guarantee that you will cultivate a new innate talent. Lin Yuan's eyes flashed with a hint of interest. He licked his lips and asked, What do you mean by that? I won't take advantage of you. What you see is my sincerity. As long as you are willing to teach me your method of devouring energy, you can choose any 3 of the absolute arts here. In addition, after I revive, I can take you away from here and slowly support you in your forces. This is a win-win deal. How about it? The flaming violent bear's head, which was made up of flames, slowly opened its mouth and revealed a slightly sinister smile. When it said these words, the flaming Kirin naturally used its special assistant to block the perception of those who were watching. Whether it was the method that Lin Yuan possessed that could devour other people's energy, or the absolute arts that the flaming Kirin had collected, if any of them were to spread to the outside world, it would instantly set off a bloody storm. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes slowly turned as he stared expressionlessly at the flaming violent bear. Then he shook his head and said in a low voice, Although I'm really tempted, I'm sorry, but I really don't have the method of devouring energy that you mentioned. Lin Yuan wasn't pretending to be stupid, but the existence of the mighty power from the system prevented him from voluntarily revealing the existence of the system. Otherwise, the system would have obliterated him before the flaming Kirin could make a move. This is an update with 120 monthly votes. Chapter 216. You don't know what's good for you. The fire Kirin was furious when it saw that the black serpent did not take the bait. As an existence that could be compared to the beast lord in the past, the fire Kirin had pride in its bones. In the past, if it had taken a fancy to something on the black serpent, it would have taken it by force, by hook or by crook. However, after staying here for so long and encountering such an interesting junior, the fire Kirin was moved to appreciate this talent. If it was in the past, it would not have taken an existence like the black serpent seriously at all. We still have to fight. Lin Yuan slightly narrowed his eyes and muttered without the slightest bit of fear. Powerful auras rose from the distance and fixed on the fiery bear almost at the same time. Originally, they were worried that the black serpent would join forces with the mastermind behind the scenes to deal with them. After all, the black serpent could escape into the darkness at any time. And they still had not found out who the mastermind behind the scenes was. Therefore, if they joined forces, almost every living creature here would have a headache. However, when they saw the fiery bear's aura pause, it was obvious that it had not reached an agreement with the black serpent. They could no longer hold back. If these two guys started the next round of negotiations, and the black serpent was persuaded, they would be in a passive position. After all, among all the living creatures present, only the black serpent might know who the mastermind behind the scenes was. Roar! The fiery bear let out an angry roar as it was stared at by everyone. It did not pay any attention to these fellows that it had been keeping in captivity. Instead, it strode towards Lin Yuan in front of it and smashed a pair of claws made of flames down heavily. Invisible ice condense. A light flashed in Lin Yuan's multicolored eyes. The water attribute spiritual qi that he had long condensed into a crystal-clear spear in front of the fiery bear. In an instant, it pierced through the fiery bear's chest. After that, it was directly evaporated into steam by the flames on the fiery bear's body. Lin Yuan could even clearly see the bloody hole after the ice spear evaporated. Inside it was a heart that did not beat. Even if the ice spear pierced through the heart, it still did not affect the fiery bear's movements. Boom! The flaming violent bear's claw suddenly fell, and while Lin Yuan was unprepared, it heavily smashed onto his head, directly smashing his entire body into the ground about 3 meters deep. The snake's head kept shaking back and forth, and its head was filled with a buzzing sound. F***CK. He had been cheated. Lin Yuan had seen the process of the frigid snow bear, turning into a fiery bear, using his olfactory imaging. At first he thought that the fire Kirin's remnant soul had possessed the frigid snow bear. But now, it seemed that the frigid snow bear had died the moment it was possessed by the flames. Instead of saying that the frigid snow bear was a derivative of the frigid snow bear, it would be more accurate to say that it was a pure elemental creature. There was only one way to kill elemental creatures. Cut off this fellow's connection with the fire element, and it would naturally collapse. If he could not do that, he could only use the stupidest method, and that was to extinguish the fiery bear. If this was the outside world, Lin Yuan naturally would not be so weak. As long as there was enough water, let alone a fiery bear, he would even dare to deal with a fire titan. But in this Sumeru world, other than the fire element's spiritual energy, there was not much spiritual energy of other elements. The ice spear just now was the best result Lin Yuan had obtained after all his efforts. If the elemental aspect did not work, then he could only fight with his own strength. Lin Yuan stabilized his body and pulled himself out of the ground. His heterochromatic eyes sized up the fiery bear, silently calculating its movements and guessing its next move. You overestimate yourself. The fiery bear sneered, and its body moved violently again. Its flaming claws once again smashed towards Lin Yuan's face. Thorny whip. The moment the skill was launched, Lin Yuan's snake tail suddenly grew black barbs, like thorns on a vine. The next moment, the black snake tail swept past. Although it was launched later, it arrived first. Without waiting for the fiery bear to attack him, the snake tail had already smashed into its arm. Whoosh! Accompanied by the sound of burning flames, the fiery bear's claw fell to the ground, turning into a ball of flames that twisted for a while, and then slowly dissipated. At the same time, the fiery bear's wrist slowly squirmed, and a new bear claw condensed. Glancing at Lin Yuan, who had adjusted his posture, the fiery bear shook its head and laughed. Interesting. This body was not made of flesh and blood. Aside from the frigid snow bear that was wrapped in flames as fuel, the rest of the body was made of fire elements. Logically speaking, the snake tail should directly pass through its flaming claws, and then it would smash Lin Yuan's head again. However, it did not expect that Lin Yuan's tail swing could actually damage the body of elements, and even directly break its arm. Lin Yuan also reacted at this moment, and a hint of fear flashed through his heterochromatic eyes. Fortunately, the skill he used was Thorny Whip, or else it would have been equivalent to not hitting at all. Thorny Whip's physical damage was almost completely negated by the fiery bear's claw, but the skill's true damage was one of the great powers of the system. As long as it was hit by Lin Yuan's skill, there was no possibility of dodging it. Rumble! Rumble! The snake tail fell to the ground, and a tremor spread out, and a black crack slowly appeared on the ground. The fiery bear roared and flexed its newly formed claws, its eyes filled with coldness. Black Snake, I hope you carefully consider what I said before. Before I completely lose my patience, you can make a deal with me at any time. You know how to contact me. The fiery bear did not immediately attack Lin Yuan, and a mocking expression flashed across its face. The experts just happened to arrive, and before they could even prepare for battle, they saw the huge fiery bear suddenly turn into a wisp of smoke and disappear in front of them. Where is it? A mountain lord demon beast looked around and suddenly shuddered in fear. Although they had just arrived, it wasn't as if they hadn't seen Lin Yuan's previous battle. None of them wanted to encounter an existence that could freely take over another's body. Moreover, this thing was an elemental body. Not only was it immune to physical damage, it could even appear and disappear in thin air. Being targeted by such an existence was like having a sharp sword hanging over their heads at all times. Under the immense pressure, everyone's faces were grave. The mastermind behind the scenes was much more difficult to deal with than they had imagined. This is an update for 140 monthly votes. Members have a guaranteed monthly vote every month. Please help me vote. Chapter 217. But even if it was difficult to deal with, they still had to deal with it. Although they had been trapped here for many years, they had never given up on the hope of leaving this place. Now that the black snake had appeared, it was like a huge rock that was thrown into a pool of water. The splashing waves had even startled the hidden mastermind. To be able to break through to the Heaven Dipper realm and Mountain Lord realm, almost all of them were Heaven's favored children. No matter if it was talent or temperament, they were not weaker than others. The moment the flame bear appeared, they realized that the opportunity that they had been waiting for so many years had finally appeared in front of them. Black Snake, that thing just now, what exactly was it? Yu Xinghai pursed his lips, his eyes were filled with unconcealable shock. Using flames to envelop the bodies of living beings and burning their flesh to provide energy, this method reminded him of a dark past. But the last method that had mysteriously disappeared, the other party seemed like something without a physical body. According to his impression, even if the elements of heaven and earth cultivated intelligence, they were mostly kind and pure existences. They would definitely not wantonly harm living beings, and would not create such an evil array. How would I know? Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with a trace of mockery as he sneered. If you guys came earlier, wouldn't you be able to catch that thing? Now you are asking me, what would a mere wisdom realm monster know? After saying that, Yu Xinghai pursed his lips and did not dare to reply. After all, they were in the wrong in this matter. They had clearly agreed before that once the mastermind appeared, they would immediately support the black snake. Both sides would advance and retreat together to quickly get rid of the fellow that trapped them, and then find a way out of this Sumeru world. However, the mastermind had indeed appeared, but the one facing the mastermind was only the black snake. All of them had already rushed to the vicinity, but no one stood out to support the black snake. They were all thinking of using the black snake to probe the other party's depth. In the end, not only did the mastermind not fight the black snake to the point where both sides were injured, he even wanted to cooperate with the black snake. If they did not immediately rush out when the situation was not right, they would have waited for the mastermind to take out better conditions. This black snake might not be able to stay true to its heart and still stand on their side. I am tired. I will go and rest first. Lin Yuan glanced at Yu Xinghai. The mockery in his eyes did not disappear. He did not even have the intention to continue talking to Yu Xinghai. Meanwhile, the eye in the sky slowly closed and then disappeared into the sky. It was originally just a remnant soul that was born from the Fire Qilin's corpse out of unwillingness. Its only goal was to revive the Fire Qilin. Killing these demonic beasts and humans did not have any benefits to it, so it hurriedly escaped from that place. However, this did not mean that it was afraid of these fellows that were being raised in captivity. What an interesting fellow. I didn't expect such a monstrous existence to appear in the Hengduan Mountains. Interesting. The gaze of the Fire Qilin's remnant soul lingered on Lin Yuan for a full 5 minutes before it slowly closed its eyes. Its eyes, which had been burning like flames, disappeared like the flames had been extinguished, leaving behind beautiful sparks that scattered with the wind. 2 days later, Lin Yuan had already been in the Simru world for 5 days. Due to the pressure brought by the Fire Qilin's remnant soul, Lin Yuan did not dare to push it too far and continued to slaughter those monsters. He acted as if nothing had happened and found a place to sleep for 2 days. Although his strength was imminent, Lin Yuan was more worried that the Fire Qilin's remnant soul would attack him because he had gone too far in snatching food. Previously, when he fell out with Jiu Xinghai and the others, it was only one of Lin Yuan's schemes. After all, the appearance of the mastermind behind the scenes had indirectly confirmed that Lin Yuan's previous words were indeed true. In addition, they did not do anything, which caused Lin Yuan's mental state to explode. Therefore, the next time Lin Yuan fought with the Fire Qilin's remnant soul, these experts would definitely help him deal with the Fire Qilin's remnant soul. However, the Fire Qilin's remnant soul was not a fool. Previously, when Lin Yuan probed it, although he felt that it still had some strength left, its true strength was only at the Mountain Lord realm. Facing so many enemies at the same time, the Fire Qilin's remnant soul would definitely not have the slightest hesitation. It might even directly reveal the secrets of the Land of Light. When that time came, 80% of the people that Lin Yuan invited to help him would retreat. The remaining 20% would be used to deal with Lin Yuan. After all, if they stayed here, they would still have more than 10 years of lifespan. Perhaps they would find a more suitable way to break out of this situation. However, if they joined forces with Lin Yuan to overturn its rule, regardless of whether they succeeded or not, they would not have a good ending. Brother Black Snake, look at what this big brother has brought for you. A humanoid creature with crimson skin slowly walked to the outside of Lin Yuan's temporary lair. He was close to 3 meters tall, but he could still kill most of the humans in seconds. His strong and muscular body was also very sturdy. No one doubted his combat strength. His name was Kunta, an old orc. Among the entire subhuman race, the orcs were not welcomed by humans. After all, although the orcs were not as intelligent as humans, they were not inferior to humans in learning. Moreover, except for their skin color and height, the internal structure of the orcs was almost exactly the same as humans. Therefore, if the techniques that humans could practice were handed over to the orcs could also practice them. Coupled with their physique that was not inferior to the monster beasts, the combat power that the orcs could display would far surpass that of most humans. Moreover, orcs had a large amount of demonic beast blood in their bodies. This meant that orcs could give birth several times a year, and every time they gave birth, they would give birth to 7 to 9 offspring. Although it was considered good if one of these offspring could complete the spiritual awakening and have an IQ comparable to that of a teenager. With the huge population of the orc race, there were also many powerful orcs. If it were not for the fact that orcs looked too ugly, it would not be a problem to call them a race that was blessed by the heavens. Compared to Shan, who was a subhuman with a high racial talent and handsome appearance, but a very low fertility rate, orcs were a more terrifying threat to humans than demonic beasts. After all, a powerful demonic beast might take decades or even centuries to be born. However, for orcs, there were countless outstanding orcs and countless inferior orc cannon fodder that were used to charge and break through enemy lines every year. This was especially true for the 3 empires in the south. Nearly 70% of the country's military forces were allocated to exterminating orc tribes in various parts of the country. If the era of the Seven Empires ended, then 90% of the people who would destroy this era that was controlled by humans would be orcs. Chapter 218. Kunta. The corner of Lin Yuan's eyes twitched slightly. Kunta was a veteran native who had lived in the Land of Light for more than 7 years. Although he was only at intelligence level 4, with the strong fertility of the beastmen, his tribe could be considered one of the strongest forces in the Land of Light. Even the doomed Star Sea would have to be courteous when meeting Kunta. Moreover, due to the extremely high fertility problem, the remnant soul of the Fire Kirin also took special care of the beastmen tribe. If a lone Yao beast would have close to 70% of its life energy extracted, the members of the tribe would only have 30% of their life energy extracted at most. If this trend continued, there might not be any Yao beasts or humans in the Land of Light in another 100 years or so. By then, these beastmen would be like leeks planted by the Fire Kirin. One batch would be cut, and another batch would be produced. If other Yao beasts or humans saw such a passionate Kunta, their first reaction would be to feel flattered. After all, Kunta could gather thousands of beastmen warriors with just a whistle. Moreover, because of the good ecological environment, these beastmen warriors did not give up like other races. They did not become crazy and violent in despair. The entire beastmen tribe was no different from the tribes in the outside world. They were very enthusiastic about their new life every day. They were also one of the few tribes in the Land of Light that could fight in groups. However, when Lin Yuan saw Kunta, he only felt a headache. He came to this place 2 days ago and planned to rest for a while. He happened to meet Kunta, who was hunting. He was besieged by 3 wind wolves and almost died. If Lin Yuan did not intervene in time, Kunta would have been reduced to food in the stomach of the wind wolves. Since then, Kunta liked to visit Lin Yuan when he had nothing to do. At first, he just wanted to chat and communicate, but now Kunta became more and more enthusiastic. He even gave some food and water from the tribe to Lin Yuan outside the nest every day. This sudden show of goodwill caught Lin Yuan off guard. As the old saying goes, there must be a demon when things are abnormal. The reason why Kunta was able to develop the beastmen tribe to such a scale was naturally not a simple-minded person. If he just wanted to repay the kindness of saving his life, he had already sent more than enough demonic beast meat. There was no need to come to Lin Yuan's temporary lair every day with gifts to disturb him. Hee. Kunta let out a hollow laugh and slowly said, "Last time when I came to see you, brother, you said that the wine brewed by our tribe was pretty good. I happened to be going out to do something, so I thought I'd give you some on the way." Lin Yuan's eyelids twitched again. He looked a little embarrassed and said, "Brother Kunta, I've said it before. I saved you because it was convenient. You've sent me too many things in the past 2 days. I can't finish them all. Don't waste any more money." As soon as Lin Yuan's voice fell, Kunta's face suddenly showed a touch of embarrassment. After all, he had been too clingy during this period of time. Even though Black Snake had pointed it out several times, he still tried to fool him. "Brother Kunta, do you have something you need my help with?" Seeing the embarrassed look on Kunta's face, Lin Yuan hurriedly asked while the iron was hot. After all, he was only eyeing the 3 wind wolves, so he saved Kunta's life by chance. However, if he continued to receive gifts like this, Lin Yuan also knew that he owed a lot. Later, if Kunta asked him to do something very difficult, Lin Yuan would not be able to do it, but he would also not be able to do it. "Haha, brother Black Snake, you saw through me. Then I won't pretend anymore." Kunta scratched his head awkwardly and said cheerfully, "Actually, there's one thing. My youngest son has had his coming-of-age ceremony, but he hasn't made any progress in cultivation. I hope you can do me a favor and see if he can become your disciple." This, Lin Yuan was slightly startled, and a touch of embarrassment flashed in his multicolored eyes. He couldn't learn human cultivation methods, so there was definitely something wrong with the child Kunta mentioned. If he agreed to this matter and couldn't do anything about it, it would be equivalent to owing the orc tribe a huge favor. Pa. Kunta patted his chest and said loudly, Brother, I know what you're hesitating about. This is definitely not enough for you to promise me something like this. So if you can promise me, I can help you solve any trouble you encounter in the land of light in the future. In the eyes of other beasts, our orc tribe really has some face. For Lin Yuan, Kunta's offer was simply too good to refuse. After all, Lin Yuan was a famous executioner in the land of light. Although he had been keeping a low profile for the past 2 days, he had already noted down the number of beasts in the periphery of the land of light. There might be some powerful beasts coming to solve his problem for the sake of the beasts. At that time, if he had the support of the orc tribe, the other party wouldn't dare to act rashly, right? How about this? I don't have the final say now. Can I take a look at the child first? Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with a faint light, and he lowered his voice and said, Now, even if I boast to the sky with you, old brother, I can't do anything. I can't do anything. Why don't you let me take a look first? If I can teach your child cultivation, I naturally have nothing to say. But if I can't do it, Brother Kunta, you'd better not continue to waste your time and resources with me. Since Brother Black Snake has already put it this way, wouldn't I be too insensible if I were to refuse? Kunta licked his lips and a happy smile appeared on his face. Black Snake was the most special existence in the land of light. If a way to leave could be found, Black Snake would definitely be one of the guides. At that time, even if Black Snake didn't care about the orc tribe's care for him during this period of time, Kunta would be satisfied with the opportunity to send his child out of this damn place. This Black Snake couldn't possibly ignore his own student before leaving, right? Hee, Brother Black Snake, you definitely won't be disappointed. After all, although my son can't cultivate, he has been smart and sensible since he was a child. He definitely won't cause you any trouble. In addition, my child's physique seems to be a little different from yours. Kunta was like a chatterbox. Seeing that Lin Yuan was relieved, he immediately began to promote his child. Chapter 219. 4 hours later. In the orc tribe's camp, Lin Yuan and Kunta walked side by side. Many pairs of curious eyes immediately fell on the black serpent. Kunta, who had built the orc tribe from scratch to its current scale, did not have a high cultivation base, but his reputation in the tribe was extremely high. According to the orc's way of addressing him, Kunta was a hero who would be buried in the storm altar. Lin Yuan, on the other hand, was just an ordinary demon beast. Even standing next to Kunta was enough to attract attention, not to mention that Kunta maintained the same speed as Lin Yuan. Kunta's pace was half a body's pace behind Lin Yuan, which served to highlight Kunta's position in Lin Yuan's heart. Chakai, father is back. Kunta mumbled without even opening the tent when they approached an orc skin tent in the center of the tribe. A moment later, a young orc whose facial features were slightly similar to Kunta's, but his skin had a jade-like luster. He rushed into Kunta's embrace excitedly and expressed his longing for his father in the orc language. Compared to Kunta and Chakai, who were very close to each other, Lin Yuan was extremely shocked at this moment. On the way here, Kunta had mentioned to him more than once that Chatsai's physique was special. It seemed to be the same as Lin Yuan's, and would not be affected by the external devouring force. If not for the fact that he could not cultivate, Chakai might have already embarked on the path to find the exit. However, at this moment, Chakai obviously did not have the ability to explore the area shrouded in black fog alone. Lin Yuan originally thought that Kunta was just flattering his son. However, the moment he saw this young orc, Lin Yuan suddenly understood that he was not affected by the formation because the system's understanding of the devouring force far surpassed the remnant soul of the fire Kirin. However, an existence like Chakai could only withstand the devouring force by relying on his special physique. Innate leakless body. According to the division of martial arts, it could be roughly divided into 3 major realms: the bright realm, the dark realm, and the transformative realm. If a martial artist could step into the transformative realm, it was equivalent to entering the realm of earth immortals. He could even breathe to a certain extent through the pores on the surface of his body. At the same time, he could also lock all the pores on his body to prevent any aura from entering his body. This realm was usually called the leakless realm. In the face of an opponent of this level, almost all assassination methods such as poisoning would fail. Lin Yuan had never expected that he had not stepped into the leakless realm, even though he had been practicing martial arts for a long time, especially after mastering the cultivation method of the golden body technique, which could be called a miraculous skill. However, he never expected that one day, he would meet an orc who was born with the leakless body technique. It was no wonder that Chakai was still unable to practice martial arts even though his aptitude was not low. After all, this kind of innate leakless body was a huge drawback. If one did not master the transformative realm that could be freely opened or closed, even spiritual energy might be directly excluded during cultivation. In this way, cultivation would naturally be ineffective. However, if one did not cultivate, one's strength would not improve at all, and it would be impossible to enter the leakless realm. It was like entering an endless cycle. This was not a big problem, but it was definitely not a small one either. Lin Yuan was sure that he was the only one who could solve this problem in the entire land of Light Source. "Brother, what do you think?" Kunta comforted his son, patted Chatsai's shoulder gently, and asked while rubbing his hands. "Yes." Lin Yuan nodded slightly, and there was a look of interest on his face. Being born with the leakless body was simply a disaster for cultivators, but in terms of martial arts, it was not inferior to the existence of the sword body or the Taoist body in the novels of his previous life. It was much easier to go downhill than uphill. Chakai was less than 20 years old this year, but he had already touched the threshold of the transformative realm. If he practiced hard, it would only take him half a year to break through the two realms of obvious strength and covert strength. As for whether he could really become a first-class existence like the Earth Immortals, it would depend on his own luck. If it really doesn't work... Wait. Brother, what did you say? Kunta seemed to have not heard Lin Yuan's words. His eyes were wide open, and he changed the topic and asked in a loud voice. Originally, he was just trying to contact Black Snake, but he did not expect Black Snake to be so confident and dare to say that he could help his son embark on the road of cultivation. This alone was enough to make Kunta ecstatic. "I can teach him how to cultivate, but I'll say this first. I'll take him in as my disciple and teach him my skills, but without my permission, if he dares to spread what I taught him, I'll personally cripple him." Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with a cold light, and he said this with a gloomy face. Lin Yuan did not have many choices about martial arts. The only thing he could give to Chakai was the cultivation method of the golden body skill. Without the help of the system, Chatsai's cultivation speed of the golden body skill would not be very fast, but it was at least 100 times faster than Lin Yuan's cultivation speed without attribute points. However, although the golden body skill was something that Lin Yuan had discovered early, Lin Yuan had experienced so many battles where he could have died if he was not careful. Lin Yuan was still standing here unscathed today because of the golden body skill. Lin Yuan was willing to teach such a wonderful skill to Chakai, so it was his good fortune. If Chakai was not sensible enough, or if Kunta had some ideas that he should not have, Lin Yuan did not mind killing Kundu and his son personally. He would let those who were thinking about him know what it was like to betray him. "Next, I will teach you a part of the chant. You can practice it while eating the flesh of demonic beasts. When you are able to sense qi, come find me. At that time, I will teach you the next part of the chant." Lin Yuan grinned and showed a kind smile. This operation was somewhat different from what he had expected, but it was also a good harvest for Lin Yuan to be able to unearth a good seedling. "Yes, master. I will work hard." Chakai stuttered as he replied in the common language. He did not seem to be good at communicating with strange creatures, so when he said those words, there was a hint of shyness on his face. Furthermore, it was Kunta who taught him to say those words. Chakai did not understand the meaning of those two sentences at all. Today's third watch is delivered. Chapter 220. Time passed bit by bit. Lin Yuan could feel the passage of time even though he was surrounded by darkness. According to the system's calculations, today was the 15th day since he entered the Sumeru world. Lin Yuan was sitting on a huge rock with his body curled up. His beautiful eyes were looking at Chakai, who was sweating profusely. His eyes revealed a look of satisfaction. In 11 days, Chakai was able to sense qi according to the golden body technique that Lin Yuan had taught him. Although martial arts were similar to the cultivation of qi by humans, what was condensed was pure internal energy. It was similar to the so-called qi, but it was not the same. At least, the innate leakless body would not reject the flow of internal energy into the body. Naturally, there was no threshold for cultivation. Although Kunta was envious of such a magical cultivation method, he was after all an ambitious person. He knew what he could get his hands on, and what he should keep a respectful distance from. The mnemonic chant that Lin Yuan taught to Chakai was not a complete mnemonic chant. It was only the first step of condensing qi. If he forced himself to practice without follow-up guidance, it would be a good result for him to go berserk and become a fool. Lin Yuan also very sneakily took Chakai out of the Beastman tribe for one-on-one tutoring. While helping Chakai to make rapid progress, he also completely cut off the idea of those guys in the Beastman tribe to secretly learn. Master Chakai, how much longer do I have to persevere? Chakai, who was squatting in a horse stance, asked with a trembling voice as beads of sweat oozed out of his forehead. It seemed that due to the different body structure, more sophisticated and complex humanoid creatures cultivating the golden body technique, they had to assume a specific posture to mobilize the qi in their body to slowly refine their body. Every inch of their body required more than 10 times the amount of energy that Lin Yuan needed to refine 1 inch of their body. However, Chatsai's progress was very fast, especially during the one-on-one tutoring by Lin Yuan. If Chakai had any questions about cultivation, he could immediately ask Lin Yuan. Therefore, Chakai had reached a critical stage. His body had been refined to the peak of the first level of the golden body technique. If he advanced further, the color of his skin would turn into the dark gold color that Lin Yuan had. Hold on, don't relax. Lin Yuan's voice exploded in Chatsai's ears. Chakai was slightly taken aback. However, he managed to stabilize his body and continued to control the energy in his body to temper his body. Chatsai's originally beautiful jade-colored skin slowly turned into a healthy bronze color under the activation of the golden body tactic. Moreover, this color was still slowly changing. Seeing this scene, Lin Yuan's choice of heart also relaxed a little. According to the records in the golden body secret art, one could be considered to have successfully cultivated to this stage. Next, one would need to use time to stabilize one's body. If one followed Chatsai's initial practice of swallowing large amounts of demonic beast's flesh and blood to transform into energy to temper one's body, one could already stop doing so. Although there would still be gains, the disadvantages would still outweigh the advantages. If one absorbed too much energy and was unable to transform it immediately, one's body would undoubtedly explode. Hiss. Whoosh. As Chakai took a deep breath, he also noticed the changes in his body. His face couldn't help but reveal a look of pleasant surprise. The beastmen were an extremely boorish and barbaric race. Compared to Tianya's beautiful jade-colored skin, this bronze skin was more in line with the beastmen's aesthetic. Therefore, after entering the golden body tactic, Chakai instantly evolved from a sissy to a macho existence. In the tribe he came from, he could be considered a first-class handsome man. Huh. Chakai suddenly let out a low roar. The internal strength in his body instantly gathered and condensed into a white xiaoxing sword qi in his mouth. As Chatsai's roar fell, the small white sword had already shot out and accurately hit a gray rock. In an instant, the rock exploded into pieces. Alright, you brat. Even showing off your skills in front of your master? Lin Yuan rolled his eyes at Chakai and said in a bad mood. To be able to gather his inner energy and shoot it out to injure people from a distance meant that Chakai had already passed the obvious strength stage of fighting with his fists and strength. He had reached the hidden strength stage that was rumored in his previous life to be able to injure people with flying flowers and leaves. Chakai rubbed his head and revealed a simple and honest smile on his face again. It wasn't easy for him to reach this stage. Naturally, he had the intention to show off his skills to Lin Yuan. However, he didn't expect that Lin Yuan didn't even take a second look at his flying sword qi. He even directly pointed out his little trick. Instantly, the young beastman revealed a shy expression again. Nothing had changed at all, just like 11 days ago. Alright, you've been out for so long. It's time for you to go home and take a look. I've completely imparted the first stage of the technique to you. You should understand the principle of biting off more than you can chew. When you've tempered your physical body into a dark gold color, then come and ask me for the next stage of the technique. Also remember this. I don't expect you to really break through the limits of what I've taught you today. However, you must always remember that without my permission, you're not allowed to impart what I've taught you to anyone else. Otherwise, I'll personally cripple your cultivation and destroy everything that you've worked so hard to obtain. Lin Yuan's voice was very cold. Especially when he spoke, his eyes flashed with a cold light. He had high hopes for Chakai, so he didn't want Chakai to violate his taboo. Even if Chakai imparted the golden body technique to other members of the Beastman tribe, Lin Yuan could be sure that there was only one innate leakless body. In the end, only he and Chakai could survive the invasion of the Black Fog. However, this kind of thing could happen again. If Chakai couldn't hold back in the end, Lin Yuan could only personally destroy this disciple that he had high hopes for. Although others might not be able to cultivate the golden body technique, they would definitely be clear about the weaknesses of the golden body technique. If one day he encountered such an existence, Lin Yuan wouldn't even have a place to cry. Yes, I understand, Master. Chatsai's body trembled as he subconsciously shouted in response. However, Lin Yuan's voice stopped abruptly. When Chakai turned his head back, Lin Yuan, who was originally coiled up on the huge rock, had disappeared without a trace. It was as if he had never appeared at all. Everything was just Chatsai's own imagination. Chakai shook his head gently and threw the distracting thoughts to the back of his mind. He hummed a brisk tune and strode towards the Beastman tribe. A silly smile appeared on his face from time to time. Chapter 221. The next day, early in the morning, Lin Yuan was awakened from his light sleep with a start. It was still the same mysterious feeling, as if some dangerous existence was staring at him. Snakes did not have sweat glands, otherwise Lin Yuan would have been soaked in cold sweat by now. Even so, Lin Yuan's breathing was still very rapid, and the fear in his heterochromatic eyes was getting more and more intense. As he looked at the sky, he realized that the sky had turned a crimson red. Countless clouds of flames were swirling in the sky, and a scorching aura was blowing in his face. The entire Sumeru world was filled with an aura of destruction, as if the world was about to be destroyed. Lin Yuan stared at the sky. Above the sky, something was also staring at him. It was a pair of eyes condensed from flames, cold and without a trace of emotion, like a god sitting in the ninth heaven overlooking the mortal world. However, Lin Yuan was certain that the pair of indifferent eyes had always been on him. System, this guy, what is he trying to do? The corners of Lin Yuan's eyes twitched slightly, and he used his mind to awaken the system. The remnant soul of the fire Kirin has sensed the threat of the host, and is worried that the host will kill too quickly, causing all the creatures here to be absorbed by the host. Therefore, it has decided to take out all the life energy it has accumulated over the years as a last resort, wanting to break through the boundary between life and death. Once it succeeds, it will be able to return to the world in its complete form. According to the system's calculations, the success rate of the remnant soul of the fire Kirin is currently 27%. A look of horror flashed across Lin Yuan's face. The remnant soul of the fire Kirin had absorbed so much life energy. It should know how much it needed, right? Moreover, during this period of time, in order to dispel the fire Kirin's wariness, he had basically been resting or teaching Chakai. He had not hunted any creatures in the light source at all. Saying that the remnant soul of the fire Kirin had sensed a threat from him. Wasn't this forcing him to be the scapegoat? Lin Yuan was now very curious as to what exactly had stimulated the remnant soul of the fire Kirin to make such a risky decision. System, what will happen if the resurrection of the fire Kirin fails? Did he turn into ashes on the spot? Lin Yuan's eyes moved slightly for a moment, and there was a bit of gloominess in his eyes. Regardless of whether it was in the previous life or this life, One had to pay a price for doing anything. Fire Kiran's actions were no different from toying with the eccentric existence of death. If Fire Kiran's remnant soul failed to resurrect successfully, it would definitely pay an extremely painful price. It would be lucky if it would be reduced to ashes on the spot, and never fall into the cycle of reincarnation. If death is compared to a god, then it must be the most eccentric god. As long as you have the ability to deceive death, it will generously grant you new life. But if you fail to deceive it, it will show you what true cruelty is. The Fire Kiran's actions are no different from deceiving death. If its resurrection fails, its soul will be dragged into a lonely plane to suffer eternal torture. Its physical body may be reduced to ashes, or it may be transformed by the power of death into a monster that only knows how to kill to please death. Meanwhile, Lin Yuan glanced at him from the corner of his eye. In front of him, a demonic beast at the 7th level of the wisdom realm was suddenly turned into a dried corpse by a strange force. As time passed, more and more demonic beasts were turned into dried corpses. In the system's evaluation, the success rate of Fire Kiran's resurrection was also continuously increasing. Although the increase was not huge, and it finally stopped at 40%, if Lin Yuan knew that he had a 40% chance of being resurrected after death, he would also choose to take a gamble. Black Snake. A figure flashed in front of him, and a wretched Zhu Xinghai appeared in front of Lin Yuan. This man who used to be full of vigor was now hunched over, and the wrinkles on his face were much deeper than the last time they met. His long hair had long fallen out, and his skin that was exposed to the air was covered with age spots. Even his eyes had lost their light, and he looked like he could die at any moment. Black Snake, what is going on? Zhu Xinghai's hands trembled as he asked with a choked voice. In the past years, Zhu Xinghai felt that he had seen life and death. Although he felt that it was a pity that he had lost his lifespan, he also felt that it was enough for him to live peacefully for the remaining 10 years. However, when his lifespan was about to end, Zhu Xinghai suddenly felt that he was so afraid of death. If someone came to tell him that they could help him avoid the fate of death, he was even willing to give up everything that he could. That thing, it seems like it doesn't want to wait anymore. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes and stared at the pair of fiery eyes in the sky, and a trace of light flashed through his eyes. During the time that he was in Sumeru world, something big might have happened in the outside world, which caused this Fire Kiran's remnant soul to be so flustered and irritable. It even tried to break through the boundary between life and death even though it knew that it did not have enough power. As for the words that the system said before, Lin Yuan did not take it to heart. Recently, he did not do anything to provoke the Fire Kiran, so it was obvious that the system was digging a hole for him. However, Lin Yuan's eyes revealed a look of contemplation. He could not imagine what had happened in the outside world that could provoke this Fire Kiran. Back when Beast Lord Kiran sent his capable subordinates to investigate the ghost domain, this fellow arrogantly captured the Mountain Lord level demonic beasts that followed them, as if it did not put Beast Lord Kiran in its eyes at all. Could it be that Beast Lord Kiran had personally come to the ghost domain this time? Or, suddenly Lin Yuan had a bold idea. He was merely a beast king from the outskirts of the Hengduan mountain range. In the Hengduan mountain range, he was definitely not a powerful character. Even if he mysteriously disappeared in the ghost domain, Beast Lord Kiran would not even bother to look for him, let alone come to the ghost domain to suppress the Fire Kiran's remnant soul. In Lin Yuan's memories, the only existence that could threaten the Fire Kiran, and even care about his life and death, seemed to be that Lord. Could it be that because he had mysteriously disappeared in the ghost domain, that Lord had led his inferno demonic beasts to attack Sumeru world, which provoked this Fire Kiran, and made it decide to give up on accumulating power, and directly start the resurrection ritual? Lin Yuan felt his lips dry up. He felt that the situation was faintly out of his control. If that was really the case, then there was no problem for the system to put the blame on him. Chapter 222. If Lin Yuan had to say what emotion he was feeling right now, it would definitely be regret. Extreme regret. If he had known earlier, he would not have been dormant during this period of time. If he had carried out the slaughter according to his previous killing efficiency when he entered the light source, Lin Yuan's cultivation would have probably risen to the 8th level of the wisdom state, or even the 9th level of the wisdom state, even if he had not triggered the task of promoting to the Mountain Lord realm. But now that the fire Kirin had gone berserk, even a powerful existence like Jiu Xinghai had almost been turned into a dried corpse. Those existences that Lin Yuan could deal with would probably not even have a corpse left, right? Roar! An angry roar came from the sky, waking Lin Yuan from his thoughts. This roar carried many emotions. There was unwillingness, anger, and even a bit of pain. The fire Kirin's resurrection ritual was probably not going smoothly. Although the probability of its resurrection was as high as 40%, probability was not something that was worth believing in. Some people could achieve a 100% success rate even if they only had a 1% success rate, while some people would still fail even if they had a 99% success rate. Looking at the fire Kirin's appearance, Lin Yuan could guess that the fire Kirin's resurrection ritual was not going smoothly. Black Snake, what should I do? Quickly help me think of a way. I beg you, I don't want to die. I can't die yet. Under the threat of death, Jiu Xinghai, whose life force was still flowing out of his body, knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Lin Yuan. All the elegance of an expert and the majesty of an emperor had been thrown to the back of his mind. In reality, Jiu Xinghai was not an existence that could calmly face death. Otherwise, when Lei Qiuxing had started the rebellion, this existence known as the #1 person in the Myriad Swords dynasty would have sat in the imperial palace and waited for the outcome of the battle to be decided. But back then, Jiu Xinghai had chosen to bring his personal guards far away from the battlefield and the imperial capital. He did not dare to directly face the power of the rebel army, nor did he dare to question why Lei Qiuxing, whom he deeply trusted, wanted to rebel. This was not the first time that doubtful Xinghai had chosen to live. At this moment, when Yu Xinghai was kneeling in front of him, a look of disdain flashed across Lin Yuan's eyes. I'm sorry, but I really can't save you. Lin Yuan gently shook his head. The fire Kirin had devoured all the living beings in the light source, and the only ones who could escape this calamity were probably Lin Yuan and Chakai. However, what happened after that was still out of Lin Yuan's control. Whether it was the resurrection of the fire Kirin or the capture of Lin Yuan, there was no possibility of Lin Yuan letting him go. However, it was obviously impossible to pin hope on the unrealistic idea of the fire Kirin and Lin Luoran injuring each other. You can definitely save me. As long as you tell me how you resisted the devouring power of this array, I will definitely be able to survive. Yu Xinghai's eyes were red as he stared fiercely at Lin Yuan. Under the torture of death, Yu Xinghai's mentality was already on the verge of collapse. He coldly said, Black Snake, I really don't have any more time. I will give you 2 choices. Tell me how to resist the devouring power, and the 2 of us can both live. Or, before I die of old age, I will drag you along with me. Puchi. The sound of a sharp weapon piercing through flesh suddenly rang out. Lin Yuan's black snake tail instantly pierced through Yu Xinghai's chest. Dark red blood dyed the entire snake tail red. If it was a Heaven Dipper realm expert at his peak state, even if Lin Yuan used all his strength, he might not be able to break through the opponent's defense that was comparable to a Mountain Lord realm monster. However, Yu Xinghai's mentality had already collapsed. He didn't think that Lin Yuan would suddenly attack him. Adding on the fact that his body was already on the verge of heaven's decay and could die of old age at any moment, he had already lost the defense that a Heaven Dipper realm expert should have. You, how dare you? Yu Xinghai lowered his head and stared blankly at the snake tail that pierced through his chest as he muttered to himself. Why did this black snake dare to kill him? He was the supreme ruler of the 10,000 Swords dynasty. If it was a few decades ago, even Beast Lord Kirin would be his best friend. Even if he lost the throne and the dynasty, the Yu clan's strength in the Xinwu dynasty was still terrifying. Before he was captured and brought to Sumeru world, Yu Xinghai was still living a life of luxury. When the monsters in the Hengduan mountain range saw Yu Xinghai, they would also have to respectfully bow to him. He never thought that his ending would be like this. Dying in the hands of a little beast king in the outer regions of the Hengduan mountain range? What a joke. If he knew that this would happen, he would have stayed in the imperial capital and led the army that was loyal to him to have a life-and-death battle with that traitor Lei Qiuxing. He was not willing to accept this. But he had no choice but to accept the reality in front of him. Although a Heaven Dipper realm cultivator's body was strong and wouldn't die on the spot after being pierced through the chest, he could still recover if he was treated in time. But in the light source, no one would waste precious spiritual items to save him. Furthermore, his body was extremely weak. Although he wasn't dead yet, he had lost the strength to retaliate. You interrupted my train of thought. Lin Yuan twisted his snake body. His heterochromatic eyes didn't have any fear as he stared at Yu Xinghai. To Lin Yuan, status was just a title. Things like Beast Lord Kirin, Emperor Sun of the previous dynasty were all like that. It wouldn't increase his strength at all. As for huge forces, that was even more of a joke. After a person died, everything would be empty. Were the Jiu clan's remnants fighting against the Shenwu dynasty to bring Yu Xinghai back to the throne? No, they were just greedy for the power they had when they were nobles. They also knew that the Shenwu dynasty wouldn't let go of those who were loyal to the previous dynasty. Thus, they were determined to fight against the Shenwu dynasty. Not to mention that Lin Yuan had killed a prisoner in the Sumeru world. Even if he killed Yu Xinghai in the Hengduan mountain range, as long as he displayed enough strength and potential, Beast Lord Kirin wouldn't blame him. Instead, he would draw a clear line with the Jiu clan's remnants. After all, Lin Yuan was a demonic beast, and the Jiu clan's remnants were just a bunch of chess pieces to restrict the Shenwu dynasty. To Lin Yuan, killing Yu Xinghai didn't have any burden at all. Ding. Congratulations to host for killing Heaven Dipper Realm Level 4 Jiu Xinghai. Reward: 40 attribute points. The system broadcast appeared in Lin Yuan's mind. Lin Yuan pursed his lips as a light flashed in his eyes. Since he didn't expect Lord and Fire Kirin to both be heavily injured, then his own strength would be crucial. If you feel that this book isn't enough, you can go and read my old book Peerless God of War. It has a total of 4 million words and can be eaten to your heart's content. Chapter 223. Even if he couldn't break through to the Mountain Lord realm, it didn't matter as long as he had enough attribute points. If Lin Yuan, who had activated Blood Boil, couldn't escape from the encirclement of the Inferno demon beasts with the Fire Kirin restraining the Lord, then he had nothing to say. He had already done his best. Although the Wisdom demon beasts had all been turned into dried corpses by the Fire Kirin, the remaining ones were all Heaven Star Realm and Mountain Lord Realm existences. Moreover, they were all extremely weak. Every one of them could give him a large amount of attribute points. As long as he could kill these guys, he might be able to reach the peak of the Wisdom demon beasts. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yuan's snake body slowly twisted as he walked towards his first prey according to the image formed by his sense of smell. Ding. The Fire Kirin has been successfully revived. Host is advised to escape immediately. Ding. The Fire Kirin's bloodline has been detected. Special mission: Bloodline Advancement. Name: Bloodline Advancement. Description: the host was able to walk step by step until today, partly because of his own hard work and partly because of the system's gift. However, the host should be aware that there is no divine beast bloodline in his body. Although the host can slowly condense it through cultivation and the system's rewards, it will be a very long path. In view of the host's current enemies, there is an existence with the bloodline of an ancient remnant beast. Therefore, the system has specially issued this reward. As long as the host can kill the Fire Qilin, the host will obtain a chance to make a transaction with the system. The ancient divine beast bloodline in the Fire Kirin's body will be used to exchange for the host's complete water WYREM bloodline. Mission reward: 1 chance to make a bloodline transaction. Failure punishment: none. Lin Yuan. Looking at the system notification that suddenly popped up, Lin Yuan swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Kill a Fire Kirin of the Desolate Demon Realm? The system's mission seemed to be forcing him into a dead end. Although there was no penalty for failure, Lin Yuan had a vague premonition that whether or not he could become a mountain lord would depend on when he could cancel the evolution state in his status bar and transform from a heavenly black python into a water wyrm. Currently, there were countless powerful enemies surrounding him. If he didn't have enough strength, Lin Yuan would sooner or later be devoured clean. However, wasn't this cheating thing a little too much? Although Lin Yuan didn't know what level the Fire Kirin was, in the myths of his previous life, Kirin was on the same level as the Azure Dragon. If there really was a corresponding bloodline level, then the Kirin bloodline should be on the same level as the true dragon bloodline, right? Why was there only one flood dragon bloodline in the system? Lin Yuan was speechless for a moment because he didn't know if the Fire Kirin bloodline was too inferior, or if the system was too profiteering. The system recommends that the host treasure this opportunity. After all, there aren't many opportunities to exchange bloodlines. If the system didn't happen to have stock, even if the host obtained the Fire Kirin bloodline, it would be of no use to you. When the system notification sounded again, Lin Yuan made up his mind. The cultivation aptitude of his physical body was pitifully poor. Chotsai's cultivation speed was 100 times faster than his. Even the two mountain-shaking apes, Nagin and Mendu, had better aptitudes than him. If Bata's foundation hadn't been damaged, it might have been stronger than him. If it wasn't for the fact that he could obtain attribute points from killing monsters, Lin Yuan really couldn't compare to these native monsters. If he was allowed to slowly condense the water wyrm bloodline, Lin Yuan estimated that he might not be able to condense the bloodline even if he waited until the green leaf water lotus bloomed. Phew, it seems like I can't leave immediately. I have to wait until the battle between Lord and the Fire Kirin ends, or I can directly join Lord's camp and become a harvester in exchange for the chance to kill the Fire Kirin. Lin Yuan secretly thought about the feasibility of this matter. He still wasn't sure how useful the Purgatory Heart would be to Lord. Although the trouble he had caused before wasn't small, for an existence of the desolate demon realm like Lord, it was nothing more than letting others give him face. If he really had to engage in a life-and-death battle with an existence of the desolate demon realm for Lin Yuan, it was hard to say whether Lord would back down or not. Forget it. When the bridge reaches the bow, the boat will cross. Since things have already reached this point, I'll just take the risk. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes emitted a ray of light. Lin Yuan wasn't a gambler. Whether it was the blood feud of his previous life or the fantastical experiences of this life, Lin Yuan didn't want to casually give up his life. He wanted to reach a higher position and see more wonders. It would be best if he could return to his previous life and take revenge. But this didn't mean that Lin Yuan didn't have the courage. If he had to bet his life on a chance to turn things around, Lin Yuan wouldn't hesitate. Right now, this opportunity was in front of him. At the same time, Hengduan Mountain Range, Ghost's Domain. Lord, who had transformed into a dragon, wandered in this mountain range where there were no living creatures. He sent out all the monsters under his command to search for traces of the Black Snake. As the mastermind behind the scenes, although Sir wasn't a narcissistic person who boasted of being flawless, he still gave sufficient care to the special existence of the Black Snake. He even deliberately left a tracking mark on the Black Snake, worried that the Black Snake would secretly slip away. In fact, just as he expected, the Black Snake did have the intention to sneak away. He delegated his authority to the monsters under his command and secretly left Stoneclaw Forest. To Lord, this was undoubtedly an excellent opportunity. In this Ghost's Domain where no living creatures dared to live, it was impossible for the beast Lord Kirin's spy to exist. If he secretly captured the Black Snake here, he could do it without anyone noticing. As long as he had the Black Snake in his hands, why would he be afraid that the Black Snake wouldn't cooperate? But after tracking the Black Snake all the way to the Ghost's Domain, Lord almost went crazy. The Black Snake's tracking mark was indeed in the Ghost's Domain, but in this half a month, Lord had led his monsters to plow through the entire Ghost's Domain, but they still couldn't find that treacherous Black Snake. Lord, is that Black Snake? A Wisdom Realm level 7 green python wriggled its body and walked to Lord's side. Its eyes were filled with doubt. Although it believed that Lord was the strongest, a small trick like the tracking mark wasn't hard to break. After wasting half a month without any results, it even suspected that the black snake had tricked them. Impossible. That black snake must be here. Continue to search for it. Even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground, you have to find that black snake. Lord's face darkened, and his eyes were gloomy as he growled. Although it had doubts in its heart, it was more confident in its methods. That black snake must still be in the ghost domain. I'll send 160 monthly votes to you. Please continue to ask for monthly votes. Chapter 224. At the new location of Zhanshan City. Commander Li, Staff Officer Luo, something bad has happened. A lieutenant dressed in black armor strode into the military tent with a grave expression on his face. Commander Li and Luo Su looked at each other and saw a trace of doubt in each other's eyes. The pace of the demonic beast's attack was much slower than they had imagined. Originally, they only wanted to take away the majority of the materials stored in the new location of Zhanshan City. However, after they had emptied the new location of Zhanshan City, there were no signs of the demonic beast horde as they had imagined. This made them wonder if the Hengduan mountain range's previous actions were just to scare them. Don't be anxious, speak slowly. Qilin, go pour a cup of water for Lieutenant Fang. A trace of seriousness flashed across Commander Li's eyes as he turned his head and gave an order to his adjutant. The Azure River Empire has deployed an army of 3.6 million soldiers, and their vanguard is heading straight for our Shunwu dynasty. At the same time, news has also come from the south, saying that the demonic beasts of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas have also made a move. Hundreds of battleships have mysteriously disappeared, and more than a dozen fishing villages have also disappeared overnight. Furthermore, the Shuangjian dynasty's cavalry is also patrolling the borders of our Shunwu dynasty. The imperial capital has received countless pleading letters, and the imperial court is so busy that no one cares about our situation here. If that is all, it would be fine. However, the surrounding 6 cities have also sent us letters, saying that there are a large number of demonic beasts living outside their cities, so they are unable to support us. They have even requested us to temporarily abandon the Zhanshan city that has yet to be built to support them. Lieutenant Fang said a few shocking news in a row, then took the cup of tea from Qilin's hand and drank it in one gulp. He nodded and said, "Thank you, Adjutant Zhang." Commander Li's body swayed slightly. Luo Su's eyes widened. Lei Fan, who was sitting on the main seat, slammed the table and stood up. Just a few short pieces of news that entered their ears brought about a shock that made their hearts palpitate. The heavens seemed to be changing. The Qinjiang dynasty and the Shuangjian dynasty were pointing their weapons at the Shunwu dynasty. The demonic beasts of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas and the Hengduan mountain range had changed their hibernating posture and were ready to make a move. It seemed that an invisible force was controlling these forces, each of which was comparable to the Shunwu dynasty, to unite and blow the horn to charge at the Shunwu dynasty. Urgent news from the imperial capital. A messenger strode into the meeting room and said in a deep voice, "Lord Lei Fan, the Emperor has sent a letter asking you not to leave your post without permission. Either you rebuild Mountain Blocking City under the invasion of the demon beast tide, or all of you die here." If the previous few pieces of news had only made them feel shocked and fearful, then this order from the imperial city was the last straw that broke the camel's back. The Shunwu dynasty had abandoned them, no, the entire 7 border cities. This order ordered them not to retreat even half a step. Even if all of them had to die here, they had to drag the demon beasts out of the Hengduan mountain range to death here, at least before the Shunwu dynasty could transfer extra troops over. Whether they could survive or not would completely depend on their own strength. Compared to the 7 border cities that could be rebuilt at any time, the Shunwu dynasty was obviously more concerned about the joint invasion of the Qinjiang dynasty and the Shuangjian dynasty. As for the news from the southern coastal area, although it was strange that it happened at this time, the imperial capital probably did not care about the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. After all, the land environment was not suitable for the demonic beasts to live in. Incidents of fishing villages and ships being dragged to the bottom of the sea by the demonic beasts happened almost every year. The Shimwu dynasty had long gotten used to it. What should we do? Commander Li felt a headache coming on, and a faint bitterness appeared on his face. This was the first time he had left Shinlin Jun to carry out a mission. He did not expect to be forced into a desperate situation. Run. Lei Fan did not even think about it. He straightened his body and said expressionlessly, "The 7 border cities have been abandoned by the Shimwu dynasty. If we continue to fight alone, we will only end up being eaten by the demonic beasts. If we want to continue to live, the only way is to give up the other 6 cities and gather in Shunning City to fight the demonic beasts in the Hengduan mountain range. Maybe we will still have a chance to survive." The 7 border cities were destroyed one by one. It was already a matter of time. At this time, it would be the stupidest thing to do if they still stayed on their own land. Only when the people and civilians of the 7 cities gathered in Shunning City would they have the strength to fight. Furthermore, Shunning City was also a border city. As long as Shunning City was not breached, the demonic beasts would not escape to the Shinwu dynasty. They would have completed their mission. Even if they were not rewarded after the war, they would not be punished. After the Shinwu dynasty defeated the Qingjiang dynasty and the Shuangjian dynasty, they would naturally send reinforcements to Shunning City and not other places. How are we going to leave? Captain Li licked his lips and said in a deep voice, "Zhanshan City has just been built. The materials transferred from various places are very valuable. If we bring these things with us, we will definitely not be able to outrun the demonic beasts. But if we don't bring them, the dynasty might not transfer a second batch of resources. When the time comes to build Zhanshan City, do you think we can think of a way to build it ourselves?" There were many aristocratic families in the Shimwu dynasty, and most of them had the strength to rule over a region. However, if they were to take out a sum of resources to build a city, they would probably empty these so-called aristocratic families in an instant. Only the dynasty had the ability to transfer idle resources from various places. If they did not have this batch of resources, how could they build Zhanshan City? Would they go to the surrounding areas to cut down trees and quarry stones, and then build a city that would collapse with a slight push from the demonic beasts? Luo Su scratched his head and pulled out a bunch of his hair. A trace of madness flashed in his eyes as he growled. "At this time, tell me directly, do you want money or your life? I know the importance of resources, but if you die, even if Zhanshan City can be built, it will have nothing to do with you. I'm just stating facts." Captain Li snorted coldly and turned his head to the side. "Money or my life? If Zhanshan City could not withstand the demonic beasts, even if they could survive this time, when the demonic beast horde comes again in the future, would he still expect his subordinates to rush up and fight the demonic beasts on the plains? All right. Stop arguing. Captain Li Luo Su, you guys organize a retreat and head directly to Shunning City." Lei Fan rubbed his forehead with a headache and said in a deep voice, "As for this batch of resources, I will think of a way to deal with it. I can't guarantee that I can protect all of it, but protecting 70% of it should not be a problem. The most important thing now is to organize a retreat. Don't quarrel here, it will only be a waste of time. 180 monthly tickets will be sent to you." Chapter 225. Rumble. Rumble. The clear sky turned gloomy in an instant. Dark clouds covered the sky, refusing to let out even a trace of sunlight. Sir's eyes narrowed slightly, and a hint of fear flashed through his eyes. When he followed the mark on the black snake's body to this place, he could feel a powerful aura. However, the aura from before was faintly discernible, so he did not take it to heart. However, the scene in front of him made him suck in a breath of cold air. Before it was even born, it had already caused a vision of heaven and earth. What kind of existence did this aura belong to? Scram! In the void, a cold voice sounded, without the slightest emotion, like a high and mighty king. The fire Kirin had just been resurrected not long ago, and a large amount of its life force had been exhausted. There were still countless scattered life forces flowing in the formation, so it did not want to fight with this strange existence from the desolate demon realm. It just wanted to drive these annoying guys away. and then hide in the Sumeru world to recuperate for a while. As for the purpose of these monsters and this existence from the desolate demon realm coming to the ghost domain, although the Fire Kirin did not ask, when it saw that the other party had been looking for something here, it guessed that they were most likely here for the Black Serpent, which seemed to be hiding countless secrets. Not to mention the bloodline power in the Black Serpent's body that was transforming, which made it feel oppressed, just the Black Serpent's ability to ignore the Great Devouring formation, and the ability to instantly turn its prey into its own energy were all things that an existence at the level of the Fire Kirin coveted. Therefore, the Fire Kirin had never thought of handing over the Black Serpent. Compared to offending this existence from the desolate demon realm, the Fire Kirin hoped that it could monopolize the benefits from the Black Serpent. Ha! A monster that has just entered the desolate demon realm dares to threaten me. Sir's eyes flashed with a cold light, and he lowered his voice and said, "If I am unhappy, I can tear a guy like you into countless pieces at any time. Let me ask you, have you seen a Black Serpent during this time? I advise you to tell the truth. Otherwise, I will definitely make you regret it." Although His Excellency had spoken ruthlessly, he still could not find the Fire Chielan's hiding place. However, His Excellency's experience was not something an ordinary demonic beast could compare to. Even if he was not confident, he still looked straight ahead with an indifferent expression, and used a threatening tone to talk to the Fire Chielan. This ghost domain was indeed very strange. The tracing mark on the black snake's body showed that it was here, but its master had searched through the entire ghost domain, and still could not find the black snake. Now there was a desolate demon realm aura that could even communicate with it, but it could not find the other party's location. Black snake? I have indeed seen one, but... The Fire Kirin paused for a moment, and a mocking look flashed through its flame-like eyes. Who do you think you are? Even if the Beast Lord Kirin were to personally come, he would still have to show some respect to me. How dare you threaten me? It seems like the Hungduan mountain range has declined quite a bit over the years. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry thinks they are invincible. Although the difference between the Desolate Demon Realm and the Desolate Demon Realm was only one realm, they were also divided into different levels. How powerful was the Fire Kirin in the past? It was a peerless monster that could directly enter the depths of the Hungduan mountain range and challenge the Beast Lord Kirin's rule. Although his lord's body was hiding a considerable amount of power, in the eyes of the Fire Kirin, he was just a slightly more powerful monster. It even felt that it did not need to recover its full strength. As long as it could use 60% of its peak strength, it could easily deal with this arrogant guy. How dare you? How dare you call the Beast Lord Kirin so directly? His lord's face darkened and he said with a hoarse voice, "A mere clown dares to boast so shamelessly? It seems like you are not a monster of the Hungduan mountain range. But no matter, when I catch you, this one will naturally teach you how to respect the Hungduan mountain range's master." Everything that happened in the Hungduan mountain range seemed to be under the control of the Beast Lord Kirin. Almost every year, there would be hundreds of monster suppression groups hidden in the Hungduan mountain range that were destroyed. There were also countless monster clans that did not abide by the rules that were destroyed. However, they often did not know how the Beast Lord Kirin knew what they were doing in secret. Even for an existence like his lord, if he wanted to move freely in the depths of the Hungduan mountain range, he would have to praise the Beast Lord Kirin from time to time to prevent himself from being caught by the other party. Then let's talk about it when you find me. The Fire Kirin sneered and said provocatively, "The black snake you are looking for is in my hands. Whether or not you can take it away from me will depend on your own ability. After all, trash like you probably won't be able to find me even when the world is destroyed." When the Fire Kirin finished speaking, his lord was slightly startled. Then, a trace of panic appeared in his eyes. Dragon bloodline monsters could be the harvester of the heart of purgatory, but the black snake was different. The black snake had an extremely pure dragon bloodline. He had a vague premonition that after the black snake harvested the heart of purgatory, he would be able to completely shed his ugly true form and become a noble dragon by eating the black snake. Therefore, he had protected the black snake at all costs during this period of time, even going as far as to offend the Green Marsh clan. a clan that had 3 desolate demon realm experts, in order to smoothly carry out his plan. However, now that the black snake had fallen into the hands of this unknown desolate demon realm monster instead of him, he suddenly felt uncertain. After all, the black snake had an incomparably pure dragon bloodline. Even the experts of the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas wouldn't dare to say that their bloodline was superior to the black snake's. Faced with this level of temptation, very few monsters could resist the desire to devour the black snake. Although he didn't know what the hidden fellow was thinking about the black snake, he was sure that once he squeezed the black snake dry, he would definitely not let go of the pure dragon bloodline. At the same time, this also meant that there was no room for negotiation between the two sides. Once they met, there would only be a battle. "My lord, I found it." A gray mouse that was following the group of monsters suddenly raised its head and shouted with a face full of surprise. The group of demonic beasts were all attracted to the scene. The white mouse circled around in place a few times, as if it was confirming something. Then its 2 front legs began to dig wildly. It actually dug out a passageway in the void. A hollowed treasure-seeking mouse? The Fire Kiran's surprised voice suddenly sounded, as if it didn't expect such a monster to exist among its opponents. Chapter 226. Kiran couldn't help but be surprised. This was because the space-digging treasure-seeking mouse had almost gone extinct in the era when it was still active. Other than a few fellows who escaped into the void, all of them were killed. Even those who survived did not dare to enter the main plane. There was no other reason other than that this creature was too monstrous. The establishment and positioning of the Sumeru world required a Kongming or desolate demon realm existence to build a suitable tomb before they died. Although some of them did have the intention of letting their descendants enter their Sumeru world to take away their inheritance and treasures, most of them just wanted to let themselves be at peace after death. However, these space-digging treasure-seeking mice didn't care about that. Once they located the Sumeru world, they would aggressively dig a void tunnel and bring their master and companions into the Sumeru world. This kind of behavior was even more tyrannical than the so-called grave robbers in Lin Yuan's previous life. After all, grave robbers still followed the rules. At most, they would dig a hole. Moreover, some things couldn't be touched, so they wouldn't touch them easily. They wouldn't do anything that would humiliate the dead. The space-digging treasure-seeking mouse wasn't an ancient species. It was a hybrid product created by humans using various demon beasts for breeding experiments. It had almost no combat power, but it could use its claws to dig a hole in the void. A desolate demon realm space-digging mouse could travel millions of miles in the void a year ago and easily locate a Sumeru world attached to the main plane. The space-digging treasure-seeking mouse following His Excellency wasn't a powerful existence. It was only at the Wisdom Realm level 3, and couldn't even withstand a tail attack from Lin Yuan. However, after such a long time, it had no problem locating a Sumeru world. I was wondering why an unfamiliar demon beast from the desolate demon realm would appear. So it's the filthy thing that stole Senior's tomb. See if I don't drag you out and teach you how to respect your seniors. His Excellency's eyes flashed with greed. If this Sumeru world could create a desolate demon realm existence, then the treasures inside definitely wouldn't be inferior. In addition, the other party's aura was weak. Obviously it had just broken through not long ago. This also meant that it hadn't completely devoured the things in the Sumeru world. If it could devour the other party and obtain the treasures in the Sumeru world, even if the black snake died in the process, it would only feel pity. Within Sumeru world. As the creator of Sumeru world, the Fire Kiran could feel the connection between its Sumeru world and the main world becoming clearer and clearer. The gloominess in its eyes could not be dispelled. It only wanted the beasts outside to leave as soon as possible. It did not expect that there would be a treasure-hunting mouse in the group, which directly located the location of this Sumeru world. Turning its gaze, the Fire Kiran fixed its gaze on the black serpent that was roaming around the Sumeru world, hunting down the weak. Its eyes narrowed as it began to plan. After this period of observation, it had a certain understanding of the black snake's devouring power. It was a power that was countless times stronger than its own. The moment it killed its opponent, it could extract all the energy in its opponent's body, and then transform it into a part of its own. With such an ability, as long as the black snake did not die prematurely, it would become a giant existence in this world sooner or later. Black Serpent, you're the one who caused this trouble. I have no obligation to risk my life for you. A trace of hatred flashed through the Fire Kirin's eyes. In the next moment, it began to operate the devouring array, gathering the constantly roaming life force. From its originally almost invisible state, the life force even formed a huge milky white ball of light. Then it shot directly in Lin Yuan's direction. Lin Yuan, who was chasing a Mountain Lord realm beast, sensed something whistling behind him. He instinctively turned his head to look behind him, only to see a dazzling but not blinding white light. Soon after, his entire serpent was enveloped by the white light. Enveloped by the white light, Lin Yuan felt a comfortable warmth all over his body, as if he was soaking in a hot spring. That was not all. The system broadcast continuously appeared in Lin Yuan's mind. Ding. The system has detected that the host has absorbed a large amount of pure energy. 1 attribute point has been obtained. Ding. The system has detected that the host has absorbed a large amount of pure energy. 1 attribute point has been obtained. Ding. The system has detected that the host has absorbed a large amount of pure energy. 1 attribute point has been obtained. The free attribute points on the interface were jumping wildly. Lin Yuan resisted the tiredness brought about by the extreme comfort of his body and opened the interface. He began to add the free attribute points to his own attributes. Soon, Lin Yuan felt some special changes taking place in his body. However, these changes did not appear. Instead, they were stuck there. This feeling of neither going up nor down made Lin Yuan feel even more tormented. Humph. You got lucky. The Fire Kirin snorted coldly. Finally, it glanced at Lin Yuan, who had turned into a white cocoon of light, and a trace of pity flashed across its eyes. In addition to the life force needed to be paid for its resurrection, the Fire Kirin had also accumulated another batch of life force. Its purpose was to quickly heal its injuries after its resurrection. However, now that a powerful enemy was at its doorstep, absorbing life force was not something that could be done overnight. Naturally, the Fire Kirin did not dare to absorb the life force itself. After much consideration, the Fire Kirin decisively poured the life force into Lin Yuan's body. It could sense that the monsters outside did not have the slightest bit of goodwill toward this black snake. Therefore, they had probably come here to capture this black snake. And it was just a dispensable addition. Although it was not at its peak, it was still in existence in the wilderness demon realm. The other party might not have the courage to fight to the death with it. Therefore, it felt that under such tempting circumstances, the other party would definitely let it go. However, a cold glint flashed across the Fire Kirin's eyes as it looked at the shattered void barrier. After all, it was a formidable existence. How could it leave with its tail between its legs after being forced into such a state by a junior that it did not even have an impression of? At the very least, it had to let the other party know what pain was. A ball of orange-red flames condensed in front of the Fire Kirin and swept directly toward the void tunnel. The space-digging treasure-seeking mouse, which had just stuck out half of its head, was slightly startled. It instinctively fled toward the void tunnel. However, the difference in strength between the two parties was too great. The space-digging treasure-seeking mouse had just turned around when it was devoured by the fireball. It turned into a pile of ashes and fell into the void tunnel. Chapter 227. You're courting death. His Excellency's cold roar rang out from the other side of the void tunnel. The rarity of the hollowed treasure-seeking mouse was enough to drive any faction crazy. After all, obtaining a hollowed treasure-seeking mouse meant that as long as there was a Sumeru world in the vicinity, it was equivalent to having the entire Sumeru world in their pocket. Even if they didn't find the tomb of a powerhouse that could suppress an entire era, they would at least find a desolate demon realm or void netherworld realm existence. Just thinking about it made one realize how much of a resource this was. However, before His Excellency's follow-up plans could be carried out, the hollowed treasure-seeking mouse was reduced to ashes by the Fire Kirin's fury, instantly shattering His Excellency's beautiful dream. What a pity! The Fire Kirin shook its head, a hint of desolation flashing through its eyes. The void tunnel dug by the hollowed treasure-seeking mouse would only disappear under two circumstances. The first was when the hollowed treasure-seeking mouse voluntarily closed the tunnel, and the second was when it was attacked by a powerful void turbulence. Therefore, even if the Fire Kirin killed the hollowed treasure-seeking mouse, it would be useless. Its Sumeru world was still connected to the main world, and everything here would be exposed to the outside world. Trespassing into my Sumeru world, die. The Fire Kirin completely ignored Its Excellency's angry roar. Its eyes were cold as it stared at the void tunnel in front of it. The demonic beasts that had swarmed into the void tunnel were startled. They immediately faced the Fire Kirin and arched their backs, occasionally letting out threatening growls from their nostrils. However, under the pressure of the fireball just now, these demonic beasts still didn't dare to offend the dignity of a desolate demon realm existence. Not a single demonic beast dared to step forward and provoke it. A bunch of trash. Get out of my way. Its Excellency's exasperated voice rang out. Soon after, a huge dragon head slowly reached into the void tunnel. The Fire Kirin's 4 feet were ablaze as it stepped into the void. It looked at the huge dragon head with a hint of contempt in its eyes. Another one who had gone crazy from wanting to transform into a dragon. As a member of the Kirin clan whose bloodline was as noble as the dragon clan's, the Fire Kirin could sense that the other party only had a thin trace of the dragon clan's bloodline. Furthermore, the dragon clan's aura was not fused with the Fire Kirin clan's. It was obvious that the dragon clan's bloodline had been plundered. In terms of bloodline, the dragon clan's bloodline was far inferior to the Black Serpent's. Yet, the dragon clan had chosen to disguise itself as a dragon clan member. Wasn't that insane? Fire Kirin. His Excellency and Hua Kirin looked at each other. Suddenly, their expressions froze and they couldn't help but cry out. Back then, the Fire Kirin had challenged the position of Beast Lord Kirin, and was hunted down by all the demon beasts in the Hengduan mountain range. In a panic, the Fire Kirin fled to the outskirts of the Hengduan mountain range, and disappeared without a trace. This was a rumor circulating among the demon beasts in the Hengduan mountain range. However, after so many years, no one had seen the Fire Kirin again. Not even its corpse could be found. Who would have thought that it would see the Fire Kirin again in this place? That's right, again. It had been dormant in the Hengduan mountain range for a long time, and had never found a suitable opportunity to blend in. If it weren't for the Fire Kirin incident, which led to the death of a large number of demon beasts in the Hengduan mountain range, it wouldn't have the status and power it had today. Therefore, when it saw the Fire Kirin again, its feelings were extremely complicated. The Fire Kirin pawed its hooves in midair and sneered. Why are you so stunned? Let's keep going. As one of the legends in the Hengduan mountain range, the Fire Kirin knew very well that Its Excellency had recognized its true identity. That was why it had such an expression. His Excellency pondered for a moment, and a pair of vertical pupils swept across the Fire Kirin. He said coldly, Fire Kirin, you are my senior. I can give you face today and let you leave safely, but you must give me the Black Serpent and this Sumeru world. Then, you must keep this matter a secret, otherwise. After that incident with me, the Beast Lord Kirin's desire to control the Hengduan mountain range is almost pathological. Young man, you have gathered so many demon beasts here. Do you think the Beast Lord Kirin knows about what happened here? The Fire Kirin narrowed its eyes slightly and sneered. You don't have to pretend with me. I am a fire divine beast. I can tell at a glance that the flames in your bodies are different from ordinary flames. Are you sure you want to give me face? Or are you worried that other demon beasts will discover your secret? When its voice fell, the Fire Kirin slowly raised its chin. Fire snakes surrounded the white cocoon that wrapped Lin Yuan. His Excellency was slightly startled, and panic appeared in its eyes again. Although it did not know what the white cocoon was, at such a close distance, it could intuitively feel the tracking mark on the Black Serpent, so it was 80% sure that the Black Serpent was in the cocoon. It temporarily regarded the white cocoon as a means for the fire Kirin to bind Lin Yuan. The fire Kirin's meaning was very clear. Either everyone showed their sincerity, whether it was the Sumeru world or the Black Serpent. It was not that it could not give them, but His Excellency also had to pay a corresponding price. Otherwise, the first thing the fire Kirin would do was to burn the Black Serpent under its control, and then go all out to make a big fuss, attracting the attention of all the high-level demon beasts in the Hengduan mountain range, and then everyone would die together. His Excellency licked its nose, and the panic in its vertical pupils was instantly suppressed. It said in a deep voice, "Tell me, what do you want me to give you in exchange for the Sumeru world and the Black Serpent?" After knowing the other party's purpose, and confirming that it was not impossible to negotiate, His Excellency was naturally not as panicked as it was at the beginning. As its mind gradually calmed down, His Excellency's thoughts gradually increased. It's very simple, I need a reasonable identity. After all, even if the outside environment has changed, we demon beasts can only live in the Hengduan mountain range. So when we meet some high-level demon beasts, I still need an identity that can fool them. I think this is not difficult. After all, if you can do it, then you can definitely help me do it. In addition, I haven't left the Sumeru world for a long time, and I've long been tired of it. You have to help me prepare a feast. Remember, only demon beasts with special bloodlines or talented humans are qualified to be my blood food. For the time being, these are my 2 requests. If you can agree, then we can talk. If you don't, hee. The fire Kirin stretched its body and slowly put forward its request. This. His Excellency's eyes flashed with doubt. The fire Kirin's request was actually not excessive. It could even be said that it was a little too simple. If these conditions could be exchanged for a Sumeru world, then it would accept as many as there were. Chapter 228. Oh no! Sir Kirin was startled and snapped out of his contemplation. At the same time, the entire Sumeru world began to tremble. Cracks that looked like glass appeared on the space barrier. The slightest contact would result in a bloody mess, or even a broken limb. Sir Kirin's expression darkened. He abruptly pulled his head out of the void tunnel, and looked at the collapsed space tunnel in front of him. A look of contemplation flashed across his eyes. He sensed that something was wrong. He also realized that the fire Kirin was playing tricks on him. However, he did not expect that the fire Kirin would dare to directly detonate the entire Sumeru world. In this way, this well-hidden Sumeru world would completely collapse in the endless void. Everything in Sumeru world would completely vanish. Unless the fire Kirin had already set up a teleportation array in Sumeru world. The moment Sumeru world collapsed, the fire Kirin was directly teleported to some place in the main plane. Yes, that must be it. Sir Kirin's eyes flashed with a dangerous cold light. If the fire Kirin had the thought that it would rather die than let Sir Kirin obtain Sumeru world, it would not have wasted so much time talking nonsense with Sir Kirin. It should be multitasking. On one hand, it was stalling for time. On the other hand, it was adjusting the time of Sumeru world's explosion. On the other hand, it was also activating the teleportation array. Sir Kirin calmed down and sensed for a moment. Then Sir Kirin shook his head gloomily. Sumeru world had collapsed too quickly. As a void tunnel that was even more unstable than Sumeru world, it was naturally the first to collapse. If Sir Kirin had not pulled out in time, it might have been decapitated by the void power. It would not have been able to investigate the existence of other arrays in Sumeru world. As for the subordinates that were left behind in the void tunnel, their only fate was to die without leaving behind a corpse. This fire Kirin was an existence that had toyed with the entire Hengduan mountains in the past. It did things very cleanly and neatly. It did not even leave a trace behind. It was obvious that the teleportation array that it had set up in Sumeru world was not near the ghost realm. It might not even be in the Hengduan mountains. Fire Kirin, you ruined my plans. I will definitely make you pay. His Excellency slapped the ground angrily, causing cracks to appear on the ground. He looked rather flustered and exasperated. Xian, so it was you who caused such a big commotion in the ghost's domain. A goshawk with 3 heads flew over and flapped its wings. It stared at Sir and said in a cold voice, "The Beast Master asked me to come and see what the unusual spatial fluctuation was. Machine, the two of us are old friends. You don't have to make things difficult for me, right?" When the goshawk spoke, its eyes flickered with ridicule as if it did not take Moxian seriously at all. It was extremely frivolous. The lord who was addressed as Moxian Heart narrowed his eyes slightly, but he did not answer the question immediately. In terms of territory, Moxian Heart and the Inferno demon beasts under its command combined could drown this goshawk and its subordinates with a spit of saliva. In terms of strength, Moxian Heart boasted that it could kill this goshawk within 3 rounds if it went all out. The pressure that this goshawk brought to Moxian Heart was not even as great as that black snake. However, this goshawk was the favorite servant of the Beast Master Kirin. Although it was not as good as Moxian Heart, it relied on the undisguised favor of the Beast Master. This goshawk was usually extremely arrogant. Its behavior was not only directed at Moxian Heart. Replying to Lord Chile's question, "Just now I brought my subordinates here to search for a group of human demon slayers. I accidentally discovered the existence of a Sumeru world. After confirming it, I asked my subordinates to dig a void tunnel and locate the Sumeru world. As a result, I saw the Fire Kirin inside. After a tough battle, the Fire Kirin detonated the Sumeru world, burying all my subordinates in the endless void. Only I was lucky enough to barely escape." Moxian Heart had no intention of lying. After all, according to the methods of the Beast Palace, the truth could be found out in a moment. Therefore, he only concealed some details. "What? Fire Kirin?" Chile's expression changed. He stared at Moxian Heart with burning eyes and said in a deep voice, "Moxian Heart, don't think that we don't know what you are planning in secret. There are countless pairs of eyes watching you every day. I just want to hear what you are going to fabricate. I didn't expect you to mention that taboo. Do you know what you are talking about?" The name Fire Kirin was definitely a taboo in the Hengduan mountain range. Even a favored subordinate like Chile would have to bear the wrath of Beast King Kirin if he mentioned this name. Moxian Heart is speaking the truth. If Beast King doesn't believe me, you can check it at any time. Moxian Heart nodded slightly. There was no expression in his eyes. At this moment, it was certain that the Beast Lord Qilin had already suspected it due to its plans for the Purgatory's heart. It had specially arranged for a resting thunder to closely monitor it. However, during this period of time, Arresting Thunder's attention seemed to have been attracted by something, or perhaps it simply did not take the monitoring of it seriously. That was why it had said such ridiculous things. It was probably afraid that the Beast Lord Qilin would punish it. "Good. Even if what you said is true, then tell me, where is the Fire Kirin?" Chile flapped his wings and looked around the forest. He said coldly, "That traitor can't not come out after detonating Sumeru World, right? Don't tell me that after hiding in Sumeru World for so long, the Fire Kirin's brain was damaged, and after you saw it, it immediately committed suicide." In addition to Moxian Heart, there were some traces of monsters in the surroundings. It matched the information from the Monster King Court. However, other than the demonic beasts that followed Wuxia, there were no traces of other demonic beasts, not to mention the Fire Qilin. If the Fire Qilin had really appeared, the entire forest would have been scorched. The Fire Kirin is very cunning. It set up a teleportation formation in Sumeru World, and didn't have time to see it. So naturally I don't know where the Fire Kirin is now. I'm only answering Master Chile's question. The unusual spatial fluctuations here before were caused by the Fire Kirin detonating its own Sumeru World. Moxian Heart glanced at Chile. He was too lazy to talk nonsense with this idiot. If he had the time, he might as well search around and see if he could find any traces of the Fire Kirin. Why waste his time talking nonsense with this idiot? When it came to the Fire Kirin, even if it was just a joke, it was a big deal in the Hengduan Mountains. Chapter 229. Xinwu Dynasty, Shunning City. In the early years, Shunning City was actually just a checkpoint. When the ancestors of the Jiao clan built this checkpoint, it was to keep all the monsters in the Hengduan mountain range out of the Xinwu dynasty's territory. Almost every year when the monster tide came, countless heroes would die in this place. These years, as the structure of the 7 great dynasties was settled, the Beast Lord Kirin retreated from the world, and the influence of the Hengduan mountain range became smaller and smaller. Shunning City and the 6 outposts outside became the 7 border cities today. At this moment, a young man wearing a red robe with cloud patterns was slowly moving forward with the crowd entering Shunning City with his hands behind his back. However, at this moment he did not notice that dozens of eyes were looking at him. These eyes belonged to some local ruffians who came from all over the world. Usually, they were idle and took advantage of the fact that they still had some strength to bully ordinary people. It was basically their source of happiness and income. They had been gathering in Shunning City for a long time. After all, the people from the few nearby cities had brought their families to Shunning City. Almost all of their belongings were with them. Except for those who looked particularly poor, they could rob anyone and live a carefree life for a long time. In the end, they would distribute the loot to the mercenaries of the merchant union who were responsible for the defense. Naturally, there would be someone to cover for them, and they did not need to worry about being held accountable. As for whether those who were robbed could survive or not, what did that have to do with them? Brother me, we found a fat sheep. A burly young man with a scar on his face trotted to a middle-aged man who was sitting next to the tower with a flattering smile on his face. Brother me nodded and slowly stood up from the ground. He stretched out his hand and patted the dust on his butt. Then, he looked in the direction that the young man with the scar was pointing at. With just a glance, Brother me's face suddenly became gloomy. Scar, is this the big fish you told me about? Brother me almost broke his back molars as he squeezed out word by word from the gap between his teeth. Yes, is there a problem? Brother me, Scar nodded, a trace of doubt in his tone. The young man who was wearing a red robe with cloud patterns had a fair complexion. Not to mention doing manual labor, he probably didn't even get much exposure to the sun. The material of his clothes was quite good. At least much better than the young masters he had seen before. Also, the accessories worn by this young man weren't bad either. A few of his brothers who had been grave robbers in the past said that the accessories worn by this young man were all made of the best materials. The worst one was an item from hundreds of years ago. No matter which one of them was put up for auction, it would probably be worth a fortune. Most importantly, this rich young master was moving around alone. They had been watching for a while, and were certain that this rich young master did not have any attendants by his side. He did not even have any experts protecting him in the dark. This was an excellent opportunity. Normally, who would not have dozens of fat and strong guards by his side? If you want to die, then go ahead and die. Don't drag me down with you. This kid isn't someone we can afford to offend. Brother me waved his hand in annoyance. The expression on his face was incomparably cold. His originally good mood had been ruined by the lack of judgment of these people. That young man indeed did not have any experts protecting him. But that did not mean that he was a pushover. This bunch of ignorant fellows could see that the young man's clothes were not ordinary, and that he was wearing all sorts of priceless accessories. The only thing they did not see was the small pendant hanging from each of his wrists behind his back. That was one of the Demon Slayer Guild's greatest creations, the Demon Slayer pouch. Under the condition that demonic beasts were willing or unconscious, they could be stored in the Demon Slayer pouch and carried around by the Demon Slayer Guild. However, the cost of making a Demon Slayer pouch was simply too high. It was not something an ordinary Demon Slayer master could afford to equip ordinary demonic beasts, were also not worth wasting a Demon Slayer pouch to transport. Brother me used to be one of the logistics members of the Demon Slayer Guild. So the moment he saw the Demon Slayer pouch, he felt some fear towards this unfamiliar young man. After all, if the Demon Slayer pouch did not contain any demonic beasts, it should be transparent like glass. However, the 2 Demon Slayer pouches hanging from the young man's wrists were black. It was obvious that there were 2 demonic beasts with extraordinary cultivation inside. According to the various conclusions, this young man was either a top demon slayer master of the Demon Slayer Guild, or a genius disciple groomed by some sect, or perhaps he was a follower of someone like the former. As for the possibility that he was a fellow Demon Slayer Guild member pretending to be a fat sheep to take advantage of the situation, that was not very likely. Although such things had happened in the past, there was really no fellow Demon Slayer Guild member in the vicinity who could take out such a large amount of wealth. But brother me. Scar's lips parted, a trace of hesitation in his eyes. A fat sheep that was rich to such an extent was hard to come by in 1,000 years. It wasn't easy for him to bump into one. Should he just watch as the other party slipped away right under his nose? I've already said it. If you want to die, go ahead. I'm not doing this deal. Don't implicate me. Brother Me's eyes flashed with a cold light. Seeing how Scar was unable to move his eyes away, Brother Me knew that he wouldn't be able to persuade this bunch of bastards to go to their deaths. Right now, he could only pray that the other party's temper wasn't that bad. At the very least, he wouldn't vent his anger on him after killing these ignorant hooligans. One knew that he couldn't afford to offend such an existence, while the other was unwilling to let such a large amount of wealth slip away just like that. Thus, their previous discussion naturally ended on a sour note. 5 minutes later, Scar returned to his seat with a face full of indignation. He spat to the side with disdain and said coldly, "What's there to be proud of? Didn't you just work as a support staff for the Demon Slayer Guild for a period of time? Didn't you still get chased away by the Demon Slayer Guild? Can't afford to offend them? They're both carrying a head on their shoulders. How strong can a weak-looking brat be?" Brother Scar. Brother Scar. Seeing that Scar had returned, more than 10 hooligans gathered around him. Their slightly turbid eyes were fixed on Scar's face. Scar raised his eyebrows slightly and said, "Brother Me has something to do at the last minute, so he can't participate in this operation. However, that brat doesn't have any bodyguards by his side. If we all rush up and snatch him away, he won't be able to do anything to us. At worst, we can just go to another city and hide our identities. In any case, once we get the money, we can do whatever we want." Ha 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 ha. The group of hooligans also laughed along with him. Chapter 230. Idiots. Brother Me, who was standing on top of the city gate tower, narrowed his eyes and looked at the group of thugs below. He wasn't sure if these people who were blinded by money would have the chance to go to other cities and hide their identities. However, he believed that he could still make it if he ran away now. Otherwise, the impact of more than a dozen corpses on the street would be huge. Even if these dead fellows were all ruffians and scoundrels that no one loved, but under the situation where the demon beast was about to rush out of the Hungduan mountain range and flatten the 7 border cities, the hearts of the people who were already in a state of panic might not be able to withstand the slightest provocation, right? Stirring up trouble at this time was equivalent to making an enemy of the entire Shimu dynasty. Hiss. As soon as the thought of running away arose, Brother Me subconsciously sucked in a breath of cold air. That was because the young man in the crowd had appeared in front of him without him noticing. The senses of experts were very sharp. Even if it was just a glance, they could easily find the source, let alone the people who were pointing at them. Therefore, Brother Me wasn't surprised that the young man would come looking for him. What frightened him was the young man's silent, ghost-like movements. The young man left the crowd without a sound, left the sight of Scar's group of thugs, and suddenly appeared in front of him. Brother Me was able to work for the Demon Slayer Guild before, which meant that his level of training was not low. While he was not as good as those frontline combatants, he was still firmly among the ranks of airborne realm fighters thanks to the resources provided by the Demon Slayer Guild. It was precisely because of his level of training that Scar's team was able to take over one of Shunning City's gates. Taking advantage of a burning house was never a person's idea. There were actually many groups like Scar's in Shunning City. However, most of them were not strong enough, so they could only find some prey that was missed by others. They could barely make a living. People like Scar's group, who were directly near the city gates, could naturally pick the best prey. Where are you going? The young man showed a perfect smile on his face and slowly asked. Brother Me was speechless for a moment. However, a hint of doubt flashed across his heart. Although he had been observing some details of the other party's body, the distance was too far and he couldn't see clearly. Now that he was face to face, he realized that the young man in front of him didn't seem to be a human. Although his skin was pale due to not being exposed to the sun all year round, it was definitely not as pale as this. His entire person looked like a piece of white paper. More importantly, under such pale skin, Brother Me could not find any meridians or blood vessels. This fellow seemed to be a puppet. My lord, there is no enmity between us. There is no need for this, right? Brother Me narrowed his eyes as a helpless expression appeared on his face. He said in a deep voice, seeing that I'm not a threat to you, I'll have to trouble you to lift your hand and let me live. Previously, Brother Me was only worried about provoking a formidable character. Now Brother Me wished he could stay as far away from this puppet as possible, because the one controlling the puppets might not necessarily be a human. Those demonic beasts who had dealings with human forces also liked to control the puppets to enter human territory. The demonic beasts' true bodies were hidden in the demon-subduing pouch, while they controlled the puppet's body. Similar situations had happened before. During the most tragic period of the war between humans and demonic beasts, many human cities were destroyed by the demonic beasts. But you've already provoked me. Now I'll give you two choices. 1. Prepare a quiet place for me to live. 2. I'll kill you right now. The young man said slowly with a mocking smile on his face. All right. I'll bring you there. Brother Me sighed helplessly. He knew that his fate had come. No matter what, he couldn't escape. Therefore, he could only pray that this fellow in front of him wasn't a spy sent by the demonic beasts. Otherwise, once Shunning City fell, not only would he have to die, even those who were slightly related to him wouldn't be able to escape. Brother Me led the way in front while the young man followed behind expressionlessly. Both parties were at peace. No one was playing any tricks. It wasn't until they entered a dark alley that the young man behind Brother Me frowned slightly. He slowly placed his right hand on his waist, as if he was ready to draw his weapon at any time. You. Brother Me was suddenly shocked. He turned his head to look at the young man with a terrified expression. Was the other party ready to kill him? Brother Me TSK. I treat you as my brother. Yet you're playing tricks behind my back? Dao Ba's sarcastic voice suddenly rang out. Accompanied by the sound of sticks rubbing against the ground, more than 10 hoodlums came out of the alley, dragging sticks and short knives. Each of them looked at Brother Me with a cold expression. This is someone you can't afford to offend, is it? Brother Me, you're not the only one with a brain. You're just trying to scare us off so that you can keep this wealth for yourself. Dao Ba raised the short knife in his hand and pointed it at Brother Me. His eyes flashed with coldness. He wasn't here specifically to ambush Brother Me. It was just that the fat sheep that he had his eyes on earlier had disappeared into the crowd in a few turns. Their trip here was for naught. Hence, they wanted to ease their relationship with Brother Me and find another suitable prey. However, they didn't expect to see Brother Me and this young man on their way home. In an instant, a wave of anger rushed to the top of his head. Dao Ba didn't even think before he drew his short knife and blocked Brother Me's path home. Dao Ba, I'm not. Brother Me opened his mouth and wanted to explain. However, when he thought of the mysterious identity of the young man behind him, Brother Me tactfully kept his mouth shut. If this bunch of hoodlums insisted on fighting, they would be the ones to die. If he said anything, not only would it not change the outcome of this bunch of hoodlums, it would also cost him his life for no reason. Thinking of this, Brother Me could only sigh softly. Good words couldn't persuade a damned ghost. You're not what? At this point, you're still trying to lie to me? Brother Me, touch your conscience and tell me, what have we done wrong to you? Every time we catch a fat sheep, it's always me and my brothers who risk our lives at the front. However, when it comes to splitting the loot, you're always the one who gets the biggest share. If this deal is successful, not only you, but all of us brothers will be rich men in the future. But what about you? You actually want to keep it all to yourself. The more Daoba thought about it, the angrier he got. He continuously used the tip of his knife to hit the wall of the alley beside him. His face revealed a crazed expression. Chapter 231. Brother Mi remained silent as he listened to Scar's words. He had to admit that Scar was right. He was never present during the robbery, but when it came to splitting the money, he would definitely get the most. However, he had a clear conscience when it came to this money. He was the one who paid to bribe the merchant union. He was also the one who defeated the other gangs one by one when they wanted to seize the precious land of the city gate. If it wasn't for him, an airborne realm existence, would these gangsters, who were mostly below the mortal evolution realm, be able to do such a profitable business with no capital in Shunning City? Brother Mi originally thought that there was no need for words between brothers. But now, it seemed that these brothers of his had never understood him. They even harbored enmity towards him, thinking that he shouldn't get a share of the money that was several times more than theirs. Seems like you're not very popular. The young man smiled, looking as if he didn't mind blowing things up. Who the F***ck are you to speak? Kid, let me tell you, I call the shots on this street. If you still know who you can mess with and who you can't, then obediently hand over all your valuables. If I'm happy that you're throwing money at me, you can still get your worthless life back. Scar pointed his finger at the young man and cursed. When Scar's voice fell, the air seemed to have frozen, and the surrounding temperature dropped by a few degrees. It wasn't a psychological effect, but the temperature really dropped by a few degrees. Even the surrounding walls of the alley slowly condensed a thin layer of frost. You're awake so soon? The young man didn't pay attention to Scar. Instead, he shook the demon-subduing pouch on his right wrist with interest. A huge demonic aura flashed by. But at this moment, an even stronger force erupted from the young man's body, directly covering up this demonic aura. In this noisy Shunning City, that flash of demonic aura didn't arouse anyone's vigilance. The few people who noticed the existence of the demonic aura frowned slightly. They simply couldn't find the source of this demonic energy, and completely lost all traces of it. They could only helplessly give up on continuing the search. But the vigilance in their hearts increased by a few levels. The soldiers and civilians of the other 6 cities at the border were gathering in Shunning City. Firstly, the city was crowded, and secondly, it was convenient for the demonic beasts to gather their forces. Although this was the best solution at the moment, many people were still dissatisfied. Every day, countless leaders were clamoring to change the status quo. Under such circumstances, their internal conflicts had not been solved yet, so how could they have the time to deal with the problems of the outside world? If the demonic beasts really appeared in Shunning City, the morale of the soldiers and the people that they had worked so hard to build would collapse in an instant. However, even though these big shots didn't notice the demonic power, it didn't mean that others didn't notice it. For example, Scar and the group of gangsters who were close by just now were all paralyzed with fear at this moment. They looked at the calm and composed young man with disbelief in their eyes. They really couldn't understand how this seemingly weak guy could release such a terrifying force. Even Daoba, who was the strongest among them, was only at level 6 of the mortal evolution state. In front of that demonic aura, Daoba didn't even have the right to stabilize himself. He almost knelt down. At this moment, Daoba's face was full of despair. Suddenly, he remembered what Brother Mi said before. This young man was indeed not a fat sheep, but a ferocious beast that they could never provoke. Luckily, I didn't cause a big mess. The young man shook his head gently and put his right hand behind his waist again. He said in a deep voice, "By the way, where are we at just now? Oh, you asked me to hand over all my valuables. If you're in a good mood, you can still let me live, right?" The young man looked at Daoba with ridicule. He didn't stop walking and slowly approached his target. Daoba was so scared that tears flowed down his face. He used both his hands and feet to move backward. The fear in his eyes couldn't be suppressed. Although he was not in existence with great experience and strength, he had a deep understanding of the viciousness of the human heart after living on the edge of a blade for so long. It would still be fine if they did not provoke this young man earlier. However, now that they knew some of this young man's secrets, how was it any different from a fool's dream if they wanted to escape unscathed? Of course, I know what you're saying is bullsh*t. Whether I cooperate with you or not, I'm going to die in the end. The young man still had a gentle smile on his face, but he said in confusion, "But I'm very curious. How do you plan to kill me?" "Patter." The young man snapped his fingers and said, "Beat you to death?" One thug suddenly groaned. All his bones and tendons were instantly broken, and he died on the spot. It looked like he was beaten up by a group of people and had his bones and tendons broken. Patter. Drowned. One of the thugs suddenly covered his mouth and nose. He struggled like a drowning person, but soon he fell to the ground with a pale face and no longer made a sound. Patter. 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 The sound of fingers snapping echoed in his ears. The brothers that Dao Ba brought here died in all kinds of ways in this alley that people rarely pass by. Corpses of all kinds of shapes and sizes fell in front of Dao Ba. "Devil! You're a devil!" Dao Ba's tears, snot, and saliva flowed together. He looked at the young man who was getting closer and closer and shouted crazily. Under this kind of pressure that was close to despair, Dao Ba's heart had reached its limit. It was like a tightly stretched string. If it was touched slightly, he would directly break. "Let's give him a quick death." Brother Me suddenly opened his mouth and said. When his voice fell, he tilted his head slightly. These thugs gathered here were all his brothers in the past. Most of them were just nodding acquaintances with him. However, after interacting with them for a long time, he could still clearly remember their names and personalities. And now, fresh lives were falling in the young man's hands. It was as easy and laughable as if he had nothing better to do. In the end, when only Dao Ba, who was the closest to him, was left, Brother Me could not help but beg for mercy for Dao Ba, who was on the verge of a mental breakdown. Bang! Dao Ba's head instantly exploded. Before he died, a clear smile of relief appeared on Dao Ba's face. "I hope this is the last time I stop. Next time, if trouble comes knocking on my door, I'll get rid of you first." The young man glanced coldly at Brother Me and said in a chilling voice, 200 monthly votes. Update. Chapter 232. Half an hour later. In a remote courtyard in the south of Shunning City, the young man put his hands behind his back and kept shaking the two demon-subduing pouches in his hands. After a while, two figures, one black and one red, were thrown out of the demon-subduing pouches. One was Lin Yuan, whose scales gave off a faint golden glow, and the other was the fire Kirin, whose fur fluttered without any wind, like clusters of burning flames. "Hey, Black Serpent, you really didn't disappoint me. The speed at which you absorbed life energy is much faster than I expected." The fire Kirin pursed its lips and completely ignored the stunned Brother Me. It turned its head and looked directly at Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan glanced at the fire Qilin expressionlessly, without the slightest change in his expression. He was silently adapting to the surging power in his body, and at the same time, trying his best to suppress the demonic energy in his body to prevent it from leaking out. Even though the fire Kirin did not tell him where this place was, judging from the architectural style of the surrounding buildings, it was definitely not a place where demonic beasts lived. It was even more impossible for it to be a demi-human that lived more like barbarians. Therefore, at this moment, Lin Yuan had already realized that the fire Kirin had brought him from the Hengduan Mountains to a human city while he was unconscious. "Why are you so cold? After all, I was the one who saved you." The fire Kirin smiled at Lin Yuan and said in a low voice, "Although I don't know what the relationship between you and that reptile is, I can feel that it has no good intentions towards you. If I didn't bring you out, you might have fallen into its hands by now. Why, don't you want to thank me?" Lin Yuan rolled his eyes and said mercilessly, "If I remember correctly, when we left the Sumeru space, a large part of the life energy that enveloped me was extracted. This means that you didn't want to take me with you. You just needed the life energy around me to start the escape plan. Secondly, that guy is indeed very malicious towards me. But when you speak, Don't you think about what you've done? If it wasn't for the fact that I've already digested all of your life energy, I'm afraid you wouldn't be talking nonsense with me right now. You'd probably be gnawing on my flesh right now, right? At this point, Lin Yuan paused and said coldly, "Also, where did you take me?" "Who knows?" The fire Kirin evaded the question and said nonchalantly, "The teleportation formation sent me to this godforsaken place. Moreover, we didn't have any combat power to speak of at that time. In order to get away from that insect, I could only bring you away from the Hengduan Mountains." Before leaving the Sumeru world, the Kirin had indeed hesitated whether to take Lin Yuan with it. However, time was too tight, and it could only take the black serpent with it as food reserves. But the fire Kirin had never imagined that the black serpent would devour all the life energy in such a short time. Eating the black serpent now would not make up for it. It might as well temporarily join forces with the black serpent and leave this city full of human patrols first. The two of you. This is Shunning City, one of the 7 border cities of the Shenwu dynasty. It is also the last line of defense against the mystical beasts of the Shenwu dynasty. Now the mystical beasts in the Hengduan Mountains are restless, and have even rushed out of the buffer zone between the two forces. Except for some defenders who are unwilling to leave their homeland, the soldiers and civilians of the other 6 border cities are currently on their way to Shunning City. Right this time, the mystical beasts in the Hengduan Mountains are extremely irritable. They have no intention of negotiating at all. Everyone they meet on the way is killed without hesitation. They have no intention of negotiating at all. It is said that a few days ago, the mystical beasts went on a killing spree. Even the emissary sent by the dynasty to negotiate was killed. Brother Mi, who felt an ice-cold knife pressing against his neck, immediately opened his mouth to show his worth. The fire Kirin and Lin Yuan both made a nasal sound of suspicion at the same time. Did the beast master Kirin take the wrong medicine? The Hengduan Mountains is waging a full-scale war with the Shenwu dynasty at this time. Is he not worried at all that the other 6 dynasties will attack him? Or is it that the two of us have actually transmigrated to another world, and the Hengduan Mountains here can directly suppress the other 7 dynasties? Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with doubt. The fire Kirin was also dumbfounded. It suspected that there was something wrong with its teleportation formation, and it was directly pulled into the past. It's not what you two think. This time, it's not the Hengduan mountain range that wants to start a war with the Shenwu dynasty. Instead, the Shenwu dynasty seems to have offended someone very powerful. The 2 neighboring dynasties have launched an attack on the Shenwu dynasty's territory almost at the same time. The southern coastal area has also been fiercely attacked by the Dragon Palace of the 4 Seas. As for the northern side, the Shenwu dynasty has given a death order to the 7 border cities. Even if we have to sacrifice our lives, we have to stop the demonic beasts outside the northern battlefront, because the Shenwu dynasty can't transfer any troops to support us. Brother Mi explained in time again. After all, he had been drinking and eating with the mercenaries from the Merchant Union. Although he had completely lost the source of information from the Demon Slayer Guild, he still understood the current situation of the Shenwu dynasty. It was obviously a small boat that was swaying in a storm, and could sink at any time. Lin Yuan and the fire Kirin both fell silent. They thought that the Shenwu dynasty had done something that could make the Hengduan Mountains, which had been holed up for many years, go to war. They didn't expect that there was a hidden story behind this matter. However, what kind of power could command the 2 dynasties and the mystical beasts of the land, and see to launch an attack on the Shenwu dynasty at the same time? Have the people from Mountain Blocking City arrived at Shunning City? Lin Yuan suddenly glanced sideways and asked. Although his strength had improved greatly, he was still ridiculously weak compared to the fire Kirin of the desolate demon realm. If both sides continued like this, even if he didn't become the fire Kirin's food, he wouldn't be able to complete the bloodline advancement mission. If he could invite strong external help, there might be some hope. If the purple-eyed youth arrived at Shunning City, with the help of the Demon Emperor Guild's hidden forces, there might be a chance to kill the fire Kirin. Mountain Blocking City? Brother Mi was slightly startled. After carefully deliberating for a moment, he said with uncertainty, "There is indeed a group of people from Mountain Blocking City. However, I don't know where they are stationed. Milord, for you to ask this question, could it be that you have an enemy among those people from Mountain Blocking City? If my lord needs, I can help you find out where the people from Mountain Blocking City are stationed." Update with 220 monthly votes that you're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.